is Scott Rambo, and I'm one of the co-creators of the Just for Today cast.
My name is Nick Dodson, and I am the owner of Broken Helm and producer of the Just for Today cast.
Just for Today is a show where my co-host JP and I, two men who are recovering here in the greater Asheville area, bring individuals onto our show, and we sit down with them, and they share how their lives have been impacted by things like substance abuse, loss, and trauma. They share with us how they are recovering from this. JP and I, and Nick too, share a little bit of our experience as well. We do this in the hopes that you, the listener or the watcher, can actually find a little bit of hope and understand that you're not alone in these things and that you too can begin the process of recovery.
Yeah, and in this episode we have April Menendez on, and she talks about how cancer has impacted her life. Mm-hmm. She works on a cancer ward, or in the cancer ward, and how she was personally, her life was personally affected by cancer, by the loss of her father.
Right. Yeah. JP and I, our lives have also been touched by cancer as well. So we hope you guys enjoy this episode, and in watching it, understand that, you know what, if your lives have been impacted by the things that we've mentioned, this might be a great place for you to be able to begin that process of recovery. So we hope you enjoy the show. Thanks.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
That's from Anchorman, if you didn't know.
Oh, yeah, I did know.
Yeah, she's
Okay. Okay.
Thanks,
What?
Master the obvious. Stop.
And so it begins.
Okay.
Right out of the... No, I don't mean the show. I mean, like, them picking on me.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. No. All right. Oh.
What?
I'm reading the notes.
Oh,
Start talking.
I am talking.
This is all out of
I said, oh.
Sorry.
It's what?
Don't vape, check phone when one of
No, it doesn't
hosts
say
is
don't.
talking.
Yeah, when, yeah. Because
I
that made it a little bit...
I can read top to bottom, left to right. It's new. It's a new thing.
Well, you are a Marine, so...
Yeah.
I was going to draw stick figures up there so that you could understand what I was talking about.
Thanks. Thanks, buddy.
Because I love you.
You're always looking out.
I'm always looking out for you. 'Cause I love
Okay.
you.
So who do we have with us?
That's a great question.
I like that. My mic needs to go up. Yeah.
Like push it up?
No, yes, please move my mic for me. I'm so needy. There.
Yeah.
Actually, that's good.
Okay.
Thank you. How is it on there? It's not too bad, right?
No, peek it out.
You're fine.
I know I am.
I'm glad you said that. I was going to say, well, of course he is. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Shall we begin?
We've been doing this this is our fourth one.
No, it's like 6.
6, and we still have not
Figured out how to
figured out an intro.
Yeah, how to start this.
Like
whole
we're
thing
supposed
out.
to do this. And this is going to turn into the intro, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm liking.
Yeah.
Because we are on the Just for Today
because
cast.
we're on the Just for Today cast. Yeah, with what?
Oh,
I'm doing the intro. Stop talking. We just figured out how to do it, and he starts making comments.
You ruined it.
That's Nick, our producer.
Use your
for
mic.
those of you who haven't seen it. Yeah, use your mic.
You gave yourself a mic for a reason.
Oh, now I'm getting the wide-eyed
I love
look.
you, Captain.
Yeah.
Where's the intro? Go.
We were doing the intro before we were so rudely interrupted.
She is not impressed with us, by the
No,
way.
she's still trying to figure it out.
She's
like, what in the world
she
is
said,
happening to me
what
right
did
now?
I get myself into when I picked up this Uber guy?
That's the uncomfortable smile that women give him at times. Yeah.
It happens.
It happens. Yeah.
You know,
We're familiar with
you
that.
take the good with the bad, but not creepy.
But not creepy. No, not
So,
creepy.
we have a very special guest
Yes, we do.
that I think Scott has mastered the art of just really getting everything from his surroundings. Like, you guys met, from what I've heard. You're an Uber driver in conjunction with what we're talking, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Your
And
main
that's how
job is coming up.
And that's how we actually met.
But you met by giving this bum a ride.
Yes.
And I'm glad
Yeah,
I'm
I
glad
bummed a
his
ride.
card cleared. So
Did I tip you? I think I did.
I hope so.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't usually check.
Good for you.
Can you guys check?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
We can see who the working man is, right? You don't know what he's doing.
Anyway.
But you're the it's a second time that he's had a guest where he just randomly met them.
Yeah.
Met a very we had an author a couple shows back that he met in a parking lot.
Yeah. Jennifer.
Just conversating. Yep. So I was not surprised when he said he met someone, and what we're talking about today, what you do for a living as your main job. When he told me about it, it really, really hit home with me because my dad passed away 7 years ago from cancer, and it was lung cancer that metastasized and spread all through his body. And I took care of him like the last 6 months of his life, and I saw it. And I'm in recovery, which some of the listeners know by now.
Yeah.
But if you didn't,
no, I think I mentioned that too.
I'm in recovery, and I'm 7 months clean now, and one of the biggest things that, and it's not an excuse, but a reason, one of the biggest things that kind of started the epic downfall into that path for me was my dad passing, because he was my best friend.
Right.
So I'm still working on coping skills with that. That's what they're teaching us in the rooms and counseling and stuff.
Yeah.
And you actually work at a hospital in the cancer wing or ward. What do you call it?
Yeah, tell us
about what you do.
So
first,
the Cancer Center.
Well, first off, who are you?
April Menendez.
Hi, April.
Do you like it when someone says Menendez or Menendez?
Menendez. Yeah.
Menendez.
I was gonna say it like that from now on.
Which was hard because I was in middle school around the time of the Menendez brothers.
Oh,
Really?
you
So
too?
that was super fun.
Yeah, I was there
Have
for
the same
Halloween
name.
last year.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, you know what? You could have my last name.
Do you remember who the Menendez
Do you
brothers
remember what
were?
I told you my last name was?
Rambo.
Yeah.
He actually
was a lot
changed
of-
that.
It was
It
a lot
wasn't
of
his
fun.
original.
No,
No, I'm just kidding.
No. When-
Menendez brothers.
That's what I'm asking. Do you remember who the Menendez brothers were, Scott?
no, I do not.
What?
I don't remember. So I'm
Is
drawing
it
a
Eric
blank.
and Lyle or
I think
Kyle?
so. Kyle.
Eric and Kyle Menendez. Oh wait, are those the ones that like murder their parents or something?
That's the
They went on
ones.
trial. Oh, and then they
Lifetime
did the
movies
fake crocodile
and-
tears.
Yes.
And, yes.
I was
You're not.
thinking like Latin pop singers.
Oh, like Menudo?
So close.
How do you know Latin pop? Okay, that's a conversation we'll have at another time.
He has Spotify, which is where you can find some of our other casts.
All right, but you're not. So you're not related to them.
Not related.
Okay, all right, just making sure.
I double checked
Okay.
to make
Did-
sure.
did you
'cause
really?
I feel like there was probably some inheritance that was left behind that could have fallen
Yeah.
to me and my sister, but it was
That
we're
would have
not
been
related.
nice. Yeah. And like JP was talking about, yeah, we met. Yeah, you were giving me a ride back actually from another interview that I did that evening, and then we sat at my house for a little bit and talked about that, and I invited you on the show. And when I got out of the car, like when I was letting myself in to my house, like I called Nick and then I called JP. I'm like, you guys are not going to believe who I just bumped into. And I was really excited.
And I said,
That's
Scott,
awesome.
stop calling me at 2 a.m.
That
Just
late.
text.
That late.
No, I was very pumped because of what I had already, like, well, it was like when he said
So yeah, we're
what you work with and what you've gone through, like, I was like, man, that's higher power stuff, bringing you
Right.
to our show.
yeah bringing us together.
So
yeah, tell us. So you're giving us our name. Like, what do you do for a living?
So my
besides
main job.
besides Uber, yeah, main job.
Besides
There we
Uber.
go. Yeah.
So my main job is at Mission Hospital. I work at the SECU Cancer Center, which is right next to the hospital. We're still a part of the hospital, but we're not like, if you were admitted, you wouldn't be in our building.
oh, okay.
So we do the outpatient services there. There's infusion, there's radiation oncology, and we do CTs there, and then we
Okay.
have the different clinics.
Do you guys have like a everybody else when it's like a 6-month backup scheduling for a CT?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
I had to get a
No.
CT scan. They're like, oh, we got available in 2025.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's through the VA. Or was that
Oh,
through
that's
Mission?
right.
Yeah, that's through the VA.
Sorry.
But we have a pretty good VA.
That's a great
We've
VA.
had like the best VA hospital for the last 10 years running, either first or second place. Like
Yeah.
it kind of goes back and forth.
That's
and
where my
everything.
dad was when he was battling his cancer. They took very good care of him at the VA.
That's good.
But
How do you like Mission Hospital? How do you like working there?
It's pretty good.
here's your chance.
Yeah, yeah. Unless somebody watches it. It sucks.
No. I've heard good things about Mission as to work for, and then and it was, what is that, like a satellite? Like you said, the SECU cancer.
Secus.
It's just I guess it would just be an ambulatory clinic.
Okay.
So because it's not, you wouldn't go in there if you were checked into the hospital. So we're more
Referral.
outpatient. So it's like doctors, you have regular appointments and things like that.
So that would
it's
be,
not,
is that like once you've already been diagnosed or,
Yeah.
or okay, so then they kind of like you move over into the area that you work in?
right.
Okay.
So what I do is I'm part of, it's called a multidisciplinary clinic, and I help with the neuro-oncology clinic. So
Okay.
I work with
What is
a
that?
neuro-oncologist that comes into clinic on Fridays,
Okay.
and we follow up with patients. We have so our little team, we have the doctor, and then we have the nurse navigator, and then there's me.
Okay.
That's a little team.
Yeah. So it's really nice because the nurse navigator helps the patient through their entire treatment,
Okay.
like from start to finish. You call this one person. If you have any questions, you want to know anything, that's who you talk to.
Okay. So it's like your operator that like
Right.
directs everything.
And
okay.
he keeps up with everything and makes sure that everything's being done timely. And
Okay.
Did you
Yeah.
see how much Scott dated himself? He literally, his impression of an operator was pulling and punching
Here we
in
go. Yeah.
the plugs.
Plugging in.
He's
No, I
like,
just watched a lot of old television show.
Let me see. You're calling for Dr. Weisenberger?
Thank you for
All
calling
right,
for
let me
Dr.
put you on line
Weisenberger. Let me
4.
connect you.
I think it shows my age because I didn't notice. I totally got it.
and I just like pop culture.
I was like, yep.
So neuro-oncology. So I'm not that smart of a man. I'm told by my producer and my co-host.
And listeners.
Dude, I have to. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
we're good.
So
And so I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that has something to do with this region up
Yes.
here. Okay.
So the majority of our patients are brain tumors.
Okay.
So whether it's either a cancer that has metastasized to the brain
Yes.
or started there.
Okay. What about like throat cancer or ear or eye or something like that? Would that also fall in that category? Is it a different something else you don't?
That would be
contend with?
different.
Okay. All right.
I think
So basically
neuro.
brain.
Neuro is
Yeah.
the key
Okay.
word, right?
Yeah, right.
I said I wasn't that smart.
I'm asking. I was asking for me.
I thought.
I
That was a
think
hidden
I don't
thing
think
on
they
there.
have a ear, nose, and throat cancer guy. I think it's like just
Right.
You've got neuro and then cancer, and then like lungs and maybe
Yeah.
Right.
bone. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Well, another part of our multidisciplinary clinic is the lung and thoracic clinic. So that's a separate one from me, but
Okay.
I work with them.
Well, you do.
Yeah.
So you get a
But
chance.
not the same way I work with neuro-oncology.
So how much interaction do you actually have with patients who have received a diagnosis?
I see all of them.
Oh, you do. Okay. So you have a chance to meet with them like on their first day, or is it
Oh
like
yeah.
later on
I
in the
usually
process?
I'm usually the one that talks to them before they come into the office.
Okay.
So I'll call them once I get notification from the hospital
Mm-hmm.
that this person needs to be seen. You know, they were diagnosed in the hospital,
Okay.
and we need to see them back in anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks for a
Depending-
hospital follow-up.
What's
Okay.
that call like? Like because is from what I'm gathering, if I got that call, it would probably be just after I found out that I got it.
A lot of times it's more, I get more emotional about it
Yeah,
than
well,
they
that's
do.
good.
Really?
Because
Okay.
they've already gotten their diagnosis or, and they've already had surgery.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes it really depends on what the case is.
Uh-huh.
As far as, I mean, it could be somebody that out of the blue had a seizure, they got taken to the emergency room,
Sure.
and it turns out they have this tumor, and they resect it immediately while they're in the hospital, and they, take out what they can,
Okay.
and then they're in the hospital for a little bit, and then they'll follow up.
Okay.
At
So
our
when,
office.
so when they come to your office, they're looking at. So it's not like scheduling for surgery. That's for like chemo and radiation therapy.
Yes.
So there'd be like follow on post surgical.
Yeah, so they'll be discussed in our neuro conference that
Okay.
that the doctors have there at the cancer center, and there's a conference for pretty much every type of cancer. It's throughout the week. Every day there's a different one. It's pretty incredible
That's
Okay.
a lot.
from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just this room full of super geniuses,
Right?
and they,
So it's like this
it's like a
room.
meeting of
just
the
like-
minds.
It's just like this room.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ooh. No, that's giving us a lot of credit.
Shameless plug.
You
it's
get-
exactly like this room.
Well, almost.
They've got dirty
almost-
minds too.
Almost like everybody in this room.
Yeah.
But we will not be.
I don't.
No, that didn't
wow.
work. That didn't
Yeah,
work.
he's
He
fine.
wouldn't even make eye contact with me.
I wouldn't either. So, I mean, that's a heavy job. You said you've you're the one that kind of gets emotional in the beginning, and you follow them the whole journey
Yes.
that they're with you guys.
Okay.
And obviously you're gonna win some and lose some, and
Right.
that's probably really hard, I imagine.
It is
Yeah,
very hard.
What's that like? Like you see someone? Is it like different age groups, everything from children to adults?
We don't see children.
Okay.
There, we do have the pediatric floor
Okay.
in our center, so they
All right.
do see children, but I don't see. I mean, I'll pass by them, but
Sure.
they're not in our clinic.
I don't see you.
Yeah,
I'm not looking at you.
it's
can't handle
it's
this.
heartbreaking.
So you get-
Absolutely.
So you get an opportunity to like meet them on like day one, basically post surgery.
Yeah,
and
when
then
they come in.
you get to see them and their families as they go through this whole entire process. What is that like to watch somebody with like, somebody who comes up like with their wife and they've got like a couple kids and a big family and stuff like that.
It's
to
devastating.
have to watch them go through that.
Yeah, it is devastating.
Even when it turns out that I don't know what the technical term is, like it's not inoperable. That I mean, it can't cure it, but
Like
when it
terminal?
goes into remission or something like that, that's pretty hard even in the midst of that.
Well, the remission's good, right?
the remission's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's all. It's just that always warms my heart to see that. Like
Right.
to be like, oh, that's so great. Like.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Everybody, they're usually really happy, and
Okay.
I love that outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ideally, yeah.
yeah, that
I'd be
could
worried
be
if you
for
didn't.
everyone.
Yeah.
That would
Well,
be great.
I mean, they're working that way to get there.
Yes.
Trying to get there, and I can't say, I know with my experience with my father, and what the doctors did for him.
Mm-hmm.
What it would have been like if he didn't have access to specialists and doctors and people like you at the VA that do that stuff. And I remember after he passed, because I still use the VA, I went over there and I thanked them. I told them that he passed, and
Yeah.
and I thanked them for everything they did, because they gave us more time.
Right.
His was terminal by the time they found it,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave us more time, where they said, is that a practice where they kind of lowball the time frame if they do give one, like maybe 6 months to a year, but that's not to get your hopes up?
I don't know that it's necessarily that as much as it is they see the same thing
Right.
sometimes, so they know kind of what the outcomes have been.
But they love
okay.
the surprises because they gave him 6
Yeah.
months. He lasted 2.5 years,
Yeah.
and that was just a blessing.
Oh, yeah.
So you've seen the ranges where it's been like given a short time and then they last forever, or given kind of some hope or something, and then something happens bad,
Right.
and that's tough.
Yeah.
So, and I would imagine it seems to me like you would deal with two different classifications or categories of people. People who have had surgery, and well, you said all of them have had some form of surgery, if possible. Two categories: people who have they're receiving treatment, follow-up treatment, the chemo and radiation, because there is some percentage of a success chance that it'll go into remission.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the people like what JP was talking about, where it's simply a matter of buying them more time. What is that?
Yes.
What is that like when you get one of those phone calls?
That's hard
Yeah.
because I already know they know when I'm talking to them on the
Yeah.
phone. It's
Right.
like I'm trying, I want to be, hey, how are you today? And it's
Right.
like, that was a stupid question.
Yeah.
Like, why did I ask that?
Right.
And I feel bad, but then they always end up appreciating it. 'Cause
Yeah.
They're like, you're
Really?
so nice to talk to, April. We love hearing from you or whatever, because I try to be really friendly. I don't want to be too
Yeah.
cold and this is the doctor's
Clinical,
office
yeah.
calling and whatever, but it's nice, I call them by their first name and and make them feel. I treat people like they're part of my family, how I would want my family member to be treated,
Wow.
That's good practice.
because
Now-
I just feel like that's the way it should be.
Yeah, it should.
That's a great practice if you like your family.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't like their family, they shouldn't have that.
And well, and your daughter's here, yeah.
She
You brought
can't hear anything.
She's got her headphones
plugged in.
and she's in
Yeah.
YouTube or something like
Yeah.
that, playing a video
Ridiculous.
game or whatever. But you brought your daughter with you in the studio today.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So you get that. Do you ever have anybody that you work with actually open up and confide in you about what they're contending with? Like maybe when if they show up for an appointment by themselves, or and I don't mean confide like tell you their life story, but does it ever get personal, or does it
Yes.
really kind of like stay like? Do you kind of like try to stay okay? Well, we've got this done. Do you try to keep it like an aspect of
Oh
clinical?
no, there's patients that I talk to and we'll end up like chatting on the phone for like 20 or 30 minutes.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and they'll be like, "So April, what's new? And how's your daughter?" And blah blah, and
Sure.
they ask about my life. I'm happy to tell them. I mean, it's
Okay.
nothing that they can't know.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not out partying or whatever.
Right.
Like,
As far as they know.
Yeah,
No.
Well, we
they'll
didn't tell
ask.
him. We didn't tell her about that after the show. We're going out for drinks afterwards. No.
But since we're in recovery,
Since we're
that's like
recovery,
tea and
you get to have the
soda.
drinks, and then we'll just pay for it
Nice.
and watch. No. No.
But it's nice. I like to get to know our patients, and then it helps, and it just makes the connection that much better. And what's great is I'm not the only one there that does that. Like, that's the way our whole clinic is. That's everyone in the building that I've met that works there loves the patients.
Okay.
So I mean, it's not like, ugh, I don't want to be at work today. Nobody says that,
Right.
other than like, I would just don't want to be at work, not
Right.
because of what anybody does.
Not because of
Right.
what
I'd
you have
rather
to do
be
or
at the
can deal
Right.
with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So I mean, like, they genuinely love their patients. I mean, when, when we lose a patient, we cry about it. So
Yeah.
I would
I
imagine.
mean, there was
you've-
a patient not long ago, and I got a group text just with the obituary link, and I was actually on my way taking her to school, and I just busted out crying driving down the road. I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Like, it's so sad because you're just like, I love them, like their family, and I instantly start thinking like, oh, his wife, and or whatever, and like, that's so sad.
Wow.
I'll get sad right now.
Hey, you do what you got to do. We got tissues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta. Do you think that's indicative of just your section of the hospital, or is that a hospital-wide thing? I had a baby admission, and
You
it
had a
was-
baby? I didn't know you could get pregnant.
You look
and-
great.
Yeah, thank you.
You look great, by the way.
I still have a fair amount of that
Are
weight,
you still nursing?
but it looks like it, doesn't it?
That's just sweat.
Wow, I have a serious. You guys are making fun of my weight.
Oh. Don't make us feel
Anyways,
bad.
no, I noticed that when I was there, when we had to, my wife had an emergency C-section. We were there at the hospital quite a bit, and everyone treated us there, from the person who admitted us in to the nurses, like we were family almost. Like there was one night nurse that was not that nice.
That's why she's on night.
There's always
Right.
one.
That's
But
why she's
that's-
on
I
night.
mean, but that's
Yeah.
okay. Like, I understand, like, those are 12-hour shifts, and a lot of times longer because of it's a hospital. I'm familiar. But that's something. Is that something that Mission has proposed and cultivated, or do you think that's just like a happenstance that people are just?
It might even be a mix of both, but I
Mix
know
of
that
both, yeah.
Mission part of their actual mission statement is that it's a great place to work and practice.
Okay.
So it's a great place for the physicians to be, and it is a great place to work.
Okay. So it's kind of like a hospital-wide methodology, like a culture.
Yeah.
It's it's a culture of care.
And I'm
Would,
sure
would you say that?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm sure they in the interview process, they probably are like trying to hire the right people with
Right.
that attitude.
Yeah.
And now you come in and be like, I'm just a genius and I
Yeah.
don't care.
I'm
Out of here,
Right.
buddy.
I'm Dr. God. And,
When what
yeah.
it is the main goal is quality patient care
Okay.
and to take care. And I remember that from my interview there, and it was just the main goal is to treat the patients there the way you would want your family to be treated.
Well, see, Nick just has really good insurance, and that's why he got treated really well.
That was Medicaid, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you got. Oh.
You know what though? It's interesting though. I've witnessed and I've observed the difference sometimes. There's some hospitals that are like that.
Yeah.
You can pick up on it from the staff that you interact with and stuff.
And a lot of times that's
literally-
just-
it's almost like, yeah, they must have checked and figured out these people got Medicare. It's like, oh, here you go, here's a shot, whatever, and get out.
Yeah,
of the
and
hospital.
that
Then,
usually
and
doesn't happen.
I've been through that because like I've had Blue Cross. Well, that's good because like I've been
Yeah.
through that because I've had experiences at the same hospital, not for the same conditions with family members, and was on Medicaid at one point, and then got a job working with FedEx and had really good benefits and had Blue Cross Blue Shield. And everything changed. Like, okay, I see what's going on. But
Yeah.
you guys across the board, you treat everybody with respect.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sometimes I think it ends up being the person that might, not the physician, but maybe the person that might be helping you, like even the patient coordinator like me.
Right.
Sometimes there's just roadblocks because of insurance, but it doesn't mean it's like, oh, well, I'm treating you different because you have this insurance over this one. It just takes, I have more hoops to jump through
Sure.
to get your stuff done with this insurance.
Yeah,
So
and
it just takes me a little, but if the person doesn't explain that, it can come across as like, oh, well, I had to wait longer because I have this insurance instead.
And I know sometimes, and I can understand everybody has a bad day, and sometimes it might be kind of a bad day. But it's nice that you guys have a culture, everybody from who's just coming to get a flu shot through somebody who's actually in your area that's dealing with something that's significant, life impacting, and impacts like it's a wide umbrella of people that get impacted by that. And how long have you been working there?
I've been there for almost 2 years. I started
Almost.
January.
Pause for effect.
I had to think for a second.
Dum.
So almost 2 years.
was
So it was like 18.
Yeah, it's January 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be right because I'm right at almost 2 years. I had to think. Sorry.
I'm not good at math, but I've got the years down. Actually, the other day I could not remember because it was my birthday in September. I could not remember how old I was. I had to be like, okay, so 1981, carry the 2. I think I'm 30 something, but that gets you like that. But 2 years, in almost 2 years, coming up dangerously close, in the same spot, in the same job, that's not normal anymore. And that's a bad thing that it's not normal.
Right.
You're doing great because normally people are hopping and jumping around, but it sounds like you've kind of nestled into a
I really
good
like
thing.
it.
Yeah. That's awesome. And you like driving Uber?
I really do.
Yeah? Do you? I got to ask this.
Sure. Yeah.
Driving Uber. I was living in LA for 4 years, so I had some crazy Uber rides. But do you do like little treats or something for the people?
Absolutely. I have bottles of water
I didn't see any
in
treats.
all the doors.
Well, that's
It
because
was
you were
dark.
after hours.
And there's bottles of water, and I also keep little bags of pretzels for everyone. I have mints and gum. Yeah.
Wow. See, I got that feeling from you.
Yep.
And I was like, I bet that's why you got that 4.9 repeating star.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I did not know you had pretzels. That's like my favorite snack food in the whole entire
Well,
world.
the car's loaded. I have a ton in the car.
They rate you at Mission?
Some pretzels.
Wait, what?
No, there's an Uber. Oh,
They re-
Dirt.
I have a good rating there too.
Oh, okay. I'm sure they do. You get your review like we see you have a good Uber score, so we're just gonna match that.
You give your patients
We
food and
assume
water.
it's safe. Yeah.
Yep. Little snacks and stuff.
Yeah.
At a hospital,
absolutely.
unheard of.
Yeah.
But-
I order the coffee for the coffee pods for our waiting room, and
Wow.
So you've been there. You've been in that position for 2 years with Mission, working in that wing, and then at some point in time, things got a little bit more personal. Something where
Yes.
you couldn't actually leave work at work, but it kind of your whole life kind of fell into you were impacted. You and your family were impacted in a way where it was
Yes.
indicative or reflective of some of the things you have to do on a daily basis. And,
Right.
And so share with everybody what that was.
with my dad.
Your dad.
So that actually happened before I started working at the cancer center.
Really?
Yes. So my dad passed away 9 years ago in April of 2010, and he was diagnosed in October the year prior. So he passed away in 2010. So 2009 October.
Sure.
He was diagnosed. He went to the hospital for. Me and him had gotten in an argument on the phone.
Okay.
And then he
Okay.
ended up going to the hospital with stroke symptoms,
Which
That's a hell of
Was
an
it here-
argument.
which it sounds bad.
No.
But that he joked with me later that it was my fault because that I gave him a stroke.
Oh God.
I like your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's hilarious. And
Yeah.
he had a mini stroke.
Okay.
So we were at the hospital, and before they let us go, they were like, okay, we just have to do this one more scan to make sure everything's okay.
Sure.
All right, they went over, Lovenox injections, what we're going to do and all that for blood thinners, just to make sure he's good to go.
Okay. So they were
Well, they-
basically they were taking it from or moving in a course of treatment or follow-up treatment
Right, for a
specifically for a stroke. Okay. And then they were like, well, let's do one more test.
And it was really such a small thing. It was like, you're just going to follow up with your primary doctor
Okay. Oh,
type
okay.
of thing. It was just like
Sure.
a little episode. It was more an episode than,
Right.
there was no damage or anything like that.
Okay.
So they did the final scan where it scanned your head and it went to here. Because
Okay.
it doesn't just do this, it goes a
Right.
little bit past.
Okay.
And they could see it. They
Like-
could see the tumor on his lung.
The full
wow.
thing or like an
at
outline?
The outline
Oh,
on the
okay.
bottom of the scan.
Wow.
So
Okay.
they came in and told us, we saw something, we need to do another scan. We were like, okay. So they did that, and it was he was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, and the tumor actually went around his aorta. So it was totally inoperable.
Yeah.
There's no
They can't
option
touch
there.
that.
Yep.
They got the micro stuff, and they
Yeah.
can't even. Yeah.
Was he a smoker?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
Oh.
He was a heavy smoker. He had
Okay.
actually quit 5 years before he
Okay.
was diagnosed.
Sure.
He was in Maryland. He was a police officer for Prince George's County,
Oh, he was?
Maryland.
Okay.
I know that.
So there wasn't like
And-
okay. Yeah.
There's no nonsense up there.
No, it's
Yeah,
not.
okay.
Yeah.
He smoked 4 packs a day. Now, how much
Holy
of the cigarette he actually smoked,
Right.
because he's riding around in a patrol
Yeah. and you
car,
gotta-
Yeah.
he was more of like a light it and then, so probably actually inhaling. He was
About to.
not really technically smoking
Yeah.
Okay.
4 whole packs. Like it would just burn.
Now, yeah,
Forever.
you say that that's the thing, and that's another similarity with the situation with my dad, because he was in 2012, but that's when he passed. But he actually had a massive heart attack in 1997,
Okay.
and half of his heart died. Luckily, the half that you vitally need,
Yeah.
you know, survived. And I remember when that happened, and it's funny you say the part about you guys getting in the argument and then him blaming it on you, like
Yeah.
like jokingly, like that.
Yeah.
That was my dad to a T. He
Yeah.
did that. He and I had dark humor, and he liked it because I treated him like he wasn't sick.
Right.
And that was a big thing. But in 97, he actually came to the first, I played hockey for 15 years, and he came to the first game he was able to make, like 10 years into it, because he was always traveling. And of course, my dad's there, and I'd never seen me
Yeah.
play. I got a hat trick that night, you know, the 3-goal stuff. And,
Yeah.
And I remember looking up, because they had the like a atrium or something above so they could look down. And I remember him jumping up and down, and I never saw my dad doing that.
Wow.
You know, I was like, "You're a musician, not an
Yeah.
athlete." And that night, because we had a Saturday night game and a Sunday morning game, that night I woke up about 2 a.m. and I saw flashing lights outside the window, and I remember thinking it was one of the neighbors' houses, because we were in a cul-de-sac. So I go to tell my parents, because they were real close with one of the neighbors, and I open the door, and they have him on the gurney in the hallway. They're starting to take him out, and
Right.
they're hitting him with the paddles, because
Right.
he had
Coded.
coated. And I remember that it wasn't like literally the shock, because it doesn't do that, but I remember seeing that it was like the shock hit me and knocked me on my ass.
Yeah.
I just sat down saying, "This is what?" You know?
Yeah.
And for years, I blamed myself for his heart attack, because I thought I got him too excited.
Yeah.
And I was like 12 years old or whatever.
Right.
And we had a talk later, and he's like, "What are you stupid?
Yeah.
Like, why would you think that?" I was like, "I don't know." But
Yeah.
that I get that argument thing, but also he was a heavy smoker too. And he
So-
quit, and it still got him.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was so they do the scan, and there must have been a shock
Yes.
once the results came back from that scan. I would
Somewhat.
imagine.
Sometimes I think back on it, and I'm not sure that he was totally surprised. He was not
Really?
big on going to the doctor.
Okay.
It's he has a cold. He just loads up with vitamin C or whatever.
Sure.
He does it. He's not going to the doctor.
Okay.
He doesn't want to. It's whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I think he always had that fear in the back of his mind that he would have something like that.
Okay.
He coughed a lot, would lay in bed at night and cough.
You have CLPD or anything like that? No.
Not that we know of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it kind of hit pretty quick, didn't it?
Yeah, like he was not interested in going.
Okay.
Not that
So-
we know.
So he gets diagnosed with stage 4, and
Yeah.
how was that news broken? Was that something he got the call and then called you? Yeah.
No, we were in the
do you have
hospital with
siblings?
him.
Do you have siblings?
I have a sister,
Okay.
and she's incredible.
Okay.
So she works in the medical field. Also, she's more on the clinical side. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm a pencil pusher.
All right.
But
And she,
Okay.
you're important though.
We're important.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
with that personality, that warmth that you give, I've heard
Yeah.
from patients, that is part of the healing process.
Yeah.
And I know that from my dad. He had his favorites there that he talked
Yeah.
to, and he always smiled when he talked to him, and
Yeah.
it did help him. And that
Well,
positive.
and I love like the teamwork that me and the nurse navigator have, and it's always. I mean, and the patient knows you call him or you can call me, either one. Like I'll get the message to him if you need something other than this appointment, and vice versa. Like it's nice to have a system set up where you know who to call. It's not like, oh, well, you need this. Well, you have
Yeah.
to call this person instead.
Okay.
You know,
So-
it's great.
So you guys get. So you were all in the house. You, your sister, and your dad were all together when
Yes.
they came out with the results.
So my mom and my dad were divorced.
okay.
They've been divorced since I was, I think, 5. And so I don't remember any of that.
Sure.
They've always been friends. So I haven't had a holiday or
So she-
anything where he wasn't there.
So she found out too then.
Yes.
Okay.
She wasn't with us when we
Right.
found out.
Okay.
My mom wasn't.
Okay.
But it was just like, I mean, our family, I mean, even though they were divorced, I mean, we were still a family. So
Yeah.
it wasn't,
Right.
they didn't hate each
Co-parenting.
other. They didn't hate
Okay.
each other. They just weren't good at being married.
Right.
So
When
don't
they
Good
get-
parents.
Yeah.
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 When they got the when you get the diagnosis, like how much? What did they say? Like how much time or treatment options or anything like that?
I actually asked how much
Okay.
about the time. There was
Sure.
kind of shocking. Our doctor or his doctor came in, and I actually work with him now.
Do
Oh,
you really?
I love him so much.
Was he seen at Mission Hospital? Were you guys living in
Yes.
Nashville?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, and his doctor, he's so sweet. And to see it from the other side, I'm jumping around, sorry. But
No,
to
dude.
see it from
No,
the
that's
other
fine.
side, like to know that the doctors, they really do care. Like
Yeah.
it's really nice to know that it wasn't, oh, he's not just putting on airs or being like, oh, I'm really concerned
Sure.
and not concerned.
Yeah.
He really is concerned.
Okay.
Right.
Like it's really nice to have that peace of mind to know that how much they actually care.
Cool.
And like they get very upset.
Yeah.
They lose a patient. I mean, it's
It
I
impacts.
don't know
them.
how they do it every day, like to continually have that profession. But anyway, so he was in the room. He told us what he found. And he told us that, you know, we found this on the first scan.
Yes.
And this is the second part. We just did this scan of your lungs. This is stage 4.
Oh.
Oh,
Lung
they could tell without
cancer.
any type of exploratory
Yeah.
surgery doing a
They
biopsy.
did a Band-Aid.
Right.
Yeah, they were like, this
Like
is what
you
you
can
got.
just see. You
Oh
can
my
just see
God.
like
Right.
the size and density of it. It's all around his aorta. This is, I mean, they were very specific. This will end your life.
Okay.
Like
This-
that we can't operate
Sure.
on this. Here's what our options are, which were few.
Yeah.
It was either go home and try and put it out of your mind or do
Yeah.
you have the option to do nothing.
Right.
Sure.
You don't have to do anything.
Right.
Correct.
Or we can do a combination of radiation and chemotherapy.
Which is
And
tough.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that will shrink it. You know, the hope is the radiation will shrink the tumor. And the chemotherapy to kill the cells, the
Right, keep
cancer
them
cells,
from
to keep it from
producing
spreading, to
and
keep it
spreading.
from getting bigger.
Sure.
And then, but it'll never be operable.
Right. You're living with
So-
it. Yeah.
So
as
it
long as
could
you
be anything. And they said, so we just kind of sat there staring at him like, what? Well, that's not what we
Yeah.
came in here for.
can. Right.
So
I was
what
just getting my
Yeah.
parking validated. Like,
Yeah.
who are you guys?
So what did you guys decide
Well,
to do?
it was really quiet. And I said, is that like, what size?
Yeah.
I said, I don't know millimeters. I don't know what
Yeah.
that
Right.
means. I need, like, tell me an object.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I said, so like an orange, maybe a mandarin orange,
Right.
or
Golf ball.
because I'm thinking
Halo?
your lungs
Yeah.
are however big. So how big is this?
Right.
And
Right.
I said, so would it be, you mean like a grapefruit? And I remember he said, it's bigger than a grapefruit.
Holy shit.
Right. So I was like, oh.
What the fuck?
Oh my god.
So I was like, and I looked at my dad. I said, "Do you have symptoms?" Like what?
yeah.
So I said, "Okay. So what is the time? What timeline are we looking at?
Yeah.
Or is there one? I don't know what
Right.
that means. Stage 4. You hear it and you're like, that's it. You know,
Right.
which that's not true.
No.
Okay.
That's not always
That's
true.
not.
Really?
So he said, without treatment, maybe 6 months.
Okay.
And I said, well, with treatment, and he said maybe a year.
And
So
they
I
were
was
right.
like, well, it's not even, that's a lot of maybes,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then I didn't know what I know now.
Right. Okay.
From working there now, I know it a little differently. But it's, I mean, his doctor at one point did tell me, he said, I'm not God. Like I can't decide. I don't know. We don't know these things.
Right.
Sure.
They
If
have to say
anything
maybe.
could happen. Like
Sure.
it could. Like I can't look at you and guarantee that with treatment he's going to live a year.
Could be a miracle healing and
Yeah.
just like be cleared up because
So-
that happens.
We talked about it. My dad talked with me and my sister about it, and he was just like, "Well, what do you guys think I should do?"
Okay.
And we were both like, "We can't decide that for you.
Yeah, that's
Not a." I said, "This is literally a life and death decision. I can't make that call."
Sure.
I said, "No matter what you decide, we're gonna wonder what would have happened
Yeah.
if you picked the other.
Okay.
Like either way you look at it, you would
Yeah.
always wonder, well, what would have happened
right.
if I hadn't done this or if we had done that."
I mean, that's
Now,
our
was it-
life. Yeah.
Was that a decision that you guys, was that something the three of you talked about on the day or the night or the evening, whatever? During the time you got the diagnosis, did you go into that conversation? It's like, what do you think we should do? Or was this something after the fact?
And it was right then.
Okay. And
After
what was
the
decided?
doctor left, he was like, I'm going to give you guys some time. I'll come
Okay.
back, later to check on everything
Sure.
and take your time.
And what did he decide?
He decided to get treatment,
Okay.
Sounded like a
which
fighter.
I was kind of against.
Ah. And the plot thickens. I want to hear this.
So-
Just because of other, past experiences with other family members and
Right.
everything, and I didn't want to watch him get sick.
Right.
I didn't want to see that, and I wasn't sure. Like, so what? Like, you didn't even know you were sick.
Mm-hmm.
I say, let's go home.
Yeah, why would I would imagine, like, why would you want to spend like the last amount of time that you have
Yeah.
throwing up, puking, and
Yeah,
and,
I'm really bad to be like, I'm just going to ignore it and see if it goes
Yeah.
away.
yeah,
We'll
not
see if that.
I'm gonna
not
put that
being
under the dirty clothes.
Yeah.
not being able to go out and do anything or interact with
Yeah.
people because you're so sick from the chemotherapy.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you weren't working there yet.
Right.
And so you've had this experience of the patient family side.
Mm-hmm.
And then I imagine going there and starting to work, that gave them an advantage in a sense
Mm-hmm.
to know, like, they can tap into you and say, like, the way to improve presenting it to the patient or family. Because you said one
'Cause
thing
you
that
got some
stuck out, you said, I
experience.
don't know measurements, tell me a size.
Right.
And have you shared your insight with them since you started
Yeah.
working?
Yeah,
and they've been receptive?
Yeah, we've talked about it. Of course, the physicians, they have their own way, and they've been
Of
doing
course.
it so long. And because they get questions like that, they are more open to
Mm-hmm.
patients anyway. Of like, the patient's family is usually always in there with them when they're getting the diagnosis. And it's, do you have any questions? Do you need me to explain anything? Like, is there anything that isn't clear? And they'll come back and explain again and again
Yeah.
if you need them to,
Right,
because they want everyone to understand and everyone to be on the same page. So that question for me, that was just me. Like, that's how I need to know. Like, I don't know what that means. A millimeter.
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah, no, that's what I would say.
Absolutely nothing to me.
So you get the diagnosis. He decides what his treatment plan wants to be. He wasn't hospitalized. I take it. He
No,
went
we
back
left.
home.
He got discharged from the hospital. It was like a day or two later. They
Okay.
kept him because they had to do. They ended up putting a stent in his leg to keep any other blood clots.
Blood clots and stuff like that. Okay, and then he goes home, and he's at home, and you're older, so you're not living at home with him. Did you or your
Right.
sister have to move in and take care of him? Did you have hospice? Did you have anybody like care? Did he need caregiving out of the gate or anything like
We
that?
did caregiving
Okay,
with him, me and my
Sure.
sister.
Ah.
So
tough.
he had just moved from Marshall into Weaverville. He had bought a townhouse. It
Okay.
was like a 3-bedroom townhouse. So it was really nice because it was pretty new. So it was really roomy, and it was definitely better than his other house that he
Yeah.
had rented. And so this he had just bought.
with
and-
that cop pension.
Right?
Yeah.
And
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, her dad was a police officer.
Yeah, in Maryland.
Yeah. So I'm taking it probably. Would it be a safe guess on my part to say that he probably didn't like do the marijuana thing to try to like?
he didn't get a chance.
Oh, he didn't.
It wasn't out yet.
So it
like,
moved-
for because of the time.
He's a-
looking
but
at the
he's
year.
a-
It was
He's
like
a cop.
it was-
This is Asheville. You know how hard
No,
it is
no,
to
no.
find pot. Come
It hadn't
on,
come out
man.
like that strong about being medicinal.
I guess
here
it was like
yet.
a THC medication.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
That
a
he
bunch
was
of different forms and
prescribed,
stuff. Okay.
and he never even got to take them.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Just boom.
See, interestingly enough, so JP had talked about his father, and we're talking about April about her father. My mother actually passed away from cancer. First time she came down with cancer. First time she came down with breast cancer. I was overseas in the Navy during the first Gulf War, and she went through chemo and radiation. And it was just localized to that area. She didn't have to have mastectomy or anything like that, but it went into remission. Quite a few, about 12 years later, she started having complications again. We went to the doctor, and they sent us to an oncologist because she had had cancer before, and they had found that the breast cancer had come back, and unfortunately it had metastasized through her whole entire system. So we were basically given the same diagnosis as well, that this is a matter of, we can extend your life. They gave her about 6 months. Same thing, right around 6 months. I said, no, it's in your lymph nodes, and it's different areas of her body and everything like that. So like my family we had to contend with that as well, like, the post-hospital care and treatment. And my mom chose to go through the chemotherapy and radiation in the hopes of being able to extend her life some, because she had gone through it once before, so she knew what to expect and how to deal with the illness that comes after your chemo treatments.
Right.
She, oddly enough, actually the first time around, unbeknownst to me, she started smoking pot to deal with the nausea and the pain and everything that comes from the chemo. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on what your personal opinion is, once the cancer went into remission, she didn't put it down. You talked about hockey. I remember memories like, once I got out of the service and everything, sitting around and smoking bongs with my mom and watching the Red Wings play hockey, and then like my mom would look at me and she'd be like, oh, let's order some Chinese food, and it's like, okay, let's order it. I'll go get it, or go get us some ice cream, Scott. And those as an addict, like those are some things where I didn't really necessarily have negative consequences. Those were good memories I had of my mom. And then ultimately, she did pass away from that. So
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. But
It's not your fault.
yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
I
But
know.
same thing. Yeah, she came.
Yeah.
So just like my mom came home and everything, your dad came home and he's in
Yeah.
his new townhouse and everything, and your sister and you were helping him.
Well, when he came home, like he's still able to do for himself. Like we didn't have like hospice wasn't an issue yet or anything. Like
Okay.
nobody had to stay with him around the clock. He was fine.
Sure.
I was actually in school at the
Really?
time. I just started at AB Tech in the cosmetology program.
Okay.
And
Baby Tech Cosmo. Woo.
right?
Shout out.
And my sister also was going to school part-time. She worked full-time
Okay.
at Blue Ridge Bone and Joint.
Okay.
I know
And she, when my dad came home, like the treatment hadn't started right away because they coordinate everything,
What
radiation.
treatment? Did he opt for both?
Yes.
Oh, he was going to do chemo and radiation. Okay.
And, it was chemotherapy infusion. So each treatment was like 4 hours.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
When you're sitting there. And we didn't have the new cancer center that I work in. It was the
Yeah.
other one that was 445 Biltmore, which is now One Hospital Drive
Right.
after
Yes.
the fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was down in the basement. I did not enjoy.
Put the
No.
chemo guys in the basement.
Yeah, it was very awkward.
Yeah.
But after he started treatment, like that's when he started getting weaker. It was quite a ways into it before we had to stay all the time.
Yeah.
And my sister, I'll probably cry doing this, even saying
Yeah.
it. Like she's 3 years older than me.
Okay.
Like she is my absolute best friend.
Okay.
She dropped out of school
wanna
so
say
that
hi
I
to her?
could
Do you wanna
stay in school.
Do you want to say hi to her?
Hi, Trudy.
Just real quick,
Yeah.
when you said I'm sorry to Scott, that was the most weighted I'm sorry I've ever heard my
Yeah.
entire life. It had like years of like experience and
sad.
Yeah. No, we felt
genuine,
it.
Like and like genuine like.
That's why I said it's all
genuinity.
right. I was,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, don't get
Yeah,
sad.
like stopped me. I was like, holy shit.
You want to feel bad? I made fun of his mom, not knowing that she was dead a couple
No,
shows
Eli,
ago.
Eli did that. So our first guest for a pilot we had on, we were, he's a Marine, JP's a Marine, I was in the Navy, so we're all veterans and everything. So we're all busting on each other and stuff like that. And something came up about somebody striking out with women, and I made some comment about Eli not being no girl would go for you, and he said something to the effect of, well, I just last weekend I was up in Michigan and was doing some
Well,
things,
you're-
some things for lack of a better term,
Your
with
mom
this woman,
jokes.
with this name who's this woman whose name was Mrs. Rambo, and I'm like, oh, my mom died from cancer, and it was like he's like.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
you
no,
see
I mean,
the-
it's fine. I mean, I didn't take offense to it. Or
you see
anything
the
like
small
that.
hole in
You-
this. I sunk
Yeah,
into that.
yeah.
when he-
You got to have being a veteran. You got to have a thick skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah,
have a thick skin.
you
Yeah,
scared
well,
the
it's a
GoPro
GoPro.
with that.
And, you know, it's interesting. You said the whole yeah. My mom, when my mom opted the second time for that, I remember. Now we went to University of Michigan, in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Go Blue.
Yeah, go blue.
Woo.
Because they have a pretty amazing cancer wing up there.
They do.
And my takeaway was, now I've seen obviously on TV and movies people who have had cancer, specifically kids, you know, children who have had it. And you see the commercials on TV, you see the kids in the hospital gowns, and they
So
look like,
sad.
you know,
Yeah.
like me. They don't, you know, they're bald. And it's one thing to actually see that on a screen and then going there. What I can remember from my experience, and I'm curious if yours was similar to this, if you had any of the same kind of impression or feelings about it. Going up there and actually seeing people go into these chemo bays, because the way they had it set up was like pits at NASCAR where cars would come in
I hated it.
and get changed and then go out. And I'm talking everything from old people to like, I mean, yeah, there were little kids with no hair running around. And I remember
Yeah.
sitting in the waiting room before we went back where they have all these bays to administer the chemo, and just, I was speechless. I literally didn't know what to say. And what
Yeah.
I got out of that was, it's incredible the way that they have this thing set up like a system to
Yeah.
be able to deal with people. And this is a fucking serious, this is an
Yeah.
epidemic. It's an epidemic. I mean,
Yeah.
I never thought about it in that context
Yeah.
before. Was that anything close to that for you and your
Well,
family?
Mission, the kids are separate.
Yeah.
Like even in our clinic at
Well,
the
I'm talking about, like, when your
office,
father
and then
was-
also when he was in treatment.
Oh.
And I think it's a thing like to keep the kids together so it's not as scary.
Okay.
Maybe, you know, that's my thought. I don't know if that's true, but
Sure.
that's what I'm thinking. It would be
Okay.
like if I was little, I wouldn't want to sit in a room with 70-year-olds
With a bunch
Right.
of old stinky.
and we're getting
yeah.
the same treatment. Like,
know-
it would be,
Yeah, right.
You're right.
It's not for me.
Right,
No.
exactly. Because when I used to work with the iHeart stations in Kiss Country with those guys, we would do the Mission Children's Hospital Radiothon, and I remember because I did the promotions there for years, and I did some on-air work. But the kids, I've had this idea too. Like what you said right there is, I was saying these kids, they're fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
And they're more adult than their parents. I've seen children consoling their parents, children with a
Yeah.
death sentence,
Yeah.
consoling their parents. And I got to know these kids. I've lost
Yeah.
some of them as friends, and I'm still in touch with the families. Now, I had an idea years ago, and I forgot to bring it up to the people on the board. But you were saying that you were saying something about the 70-year-olds with the kids and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
That actually might work in my mind,
Right.
Because it's like, for lack of a better example, it's like the pet therapy.
Mm-hmm.
They bring young kids into nursing homes to help with the
Right.
elderly,
Right.
and for some reason they connect. I don't know if it is the beginning, end, whatever, but
Yeah.
that was something that would be huge, like a something to explore for me for hospitals.
yeah.
You can use that.
Yeah. And that's
Get a
that's-
promotion.
Yeah. And that's the way U of M does it. U of M does it where it's all inclusive.
Well, and now they have on the infusion floor, they have like a circle setting
Yep.
where it's, multiple chairs, and
Yeah.
then there's private ones also,
Right.
because then it's really what the patient prefers.
Yeah,
Yep.
I remember.
Patient
I remember
preference.
that too. It was
Yeah.
it was like a big oval arch with windows where all the beds were with the bays, and then they had like a small section with that. And so you and your sister and your dad, you go in there, and he's receiving his treatment.
I took him a couple of times.
Sure. Okay.
He's so vocal and so rude.
He's a cop.
He doesn't
He's a
care.
cop.
Maryland.
Yeah,
He does
Maryland.
not care
No.
who hears
Yeah,
him. Like
okay.
if you have something to say, he'll. Oh
I'm,
well.
I'm not changing for anybody.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
well, that's you, and this is me. So
how did he handle that?
he did really good. He got a laptop and he would watch movies.
I thought you could say lap dance.
So no, we would. So my sister took him, and then if I wasn't in school or didn't have class at his appointment, I would take him.
So
to
he had to keep
chemo.
himself occupied when he was
Yeah,
there
so
receiving
he would
that.
watch his movie, and
Okay.
I would usually sit there and do homework. Well, they have volunteers come in that do music or
Drum circles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be
It's
cool in Asheville. It's
And
Asheville. Yeah, why
I
not?
don't even remember the exact group. I mean, they're volunteers.
Yeah.
So, but they would stand, and now this is in the old cancer
Okay.
treatment.
I think I know where you're going with
They
this.
would stand at the front and play whatever, and it was like this group that came, they had like a harp and a dulcimer, and it was just like,
Oh, cool.
No, I'm not thinking that.
So
No, I would. I like that stuff.
I can cuss, right?
Yeah.
You can edit it out
No.
if it's bad.
We're
Okay,
just-
so he had his big headphones on like this, watching
Sure.
his movie, and he's loud like me.
Okay.
And he hits me because he's in his relaxy chair, like that recliner,
Yeah.
in
Sharper
his
image.
treatment, and he
Yeah.
like kicks me with his foot, and I look up and I was like, "What?" And he's like, "April, this is them." We were right next to the stage, mind you. We were the first chair,
Okay.
and they're like,
Yeah.
"From me to you,"
Right.
like just. And he was like, "April, this is them. This is the ones." He was like, "They're fucking awful." And then he just dies laughing. He's like, "They're the worst."
They're the
Oh my
worst.
And I was
God.
like,
Play.
and they're just staring.
Yeah.
They just stare at me, and I was like, he's sick.
You
Like, I
said-
don't know.
Yeah.
He's got-
And then I just like ignored it and went back to what I was doing. I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
And I was like, Dad, they can hear you. And he's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And
Did,
he goes, somebody should tell him.
was it? Well, you just did. But did he have the headphones on, like, and speaking way loud, like
Yeah.
people do?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
he
I
was
love that.
watching
'cause he-
some,
yeah,
action movie and yeah.
These guys suck.
Yeah, he was like, and then he had the best laugh. He had this big roaring laugh, and I mean, that was it. And he thought it was hysterical.
That's awesome.
So did he?
Like he was telling me an inside joke. Except the entire room heard it.
Oh my God.
Everyone on stage, I was like, awesome.
How
Like,
are-
this is great. We're making so many friends here.
back to my homework.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God.
Pop quiz.
So did he maintain that kind of like
Yeah.
like keeping you and your sister entertained, for lack of a better term, and
Oh, yeah.
positive spirits like all the way
yeah.
through?
All the way.
Was there anything? Was there
hilarious.
anything that you like? Did anything change at any point in time? Like as things progressed, it's getting closer and closer.
I just
to,
saw him
to
getting
saying goodbye. Like,
Yeah.
was there any degradation in his humor or
Oh.
in his ability to take care of himself?
Everything was fine. And then he went to, like, he was taking care of himself. Everything was fine. We had a routine when he'd have chemo.
Okay.
We'd leave there, and I'd have to go by McDonald's, and he'd get a cheeseburger and a small chocolate shake.
That sounds like my dad.
And yeah, and he
cool.
was like, I have to keep up. He said, I have to make up that extra weight. I'm probably going to lose. And I was like, you need like a Big Mac.
Yeah,
Like
right?
A
Yeah,
cheeseburger.
a
Why don't you get
cheeseburger,
4 or
yeah.
5?
You need to supersize me. That.
Yeah, and a large chocolate shake. Crazy. And so, and then we'd go home. I'd get him settled. Everything was fine. And then I would go home because
Okay.
he was still totally able to take care of himself. And then it was, I don't even remember. It was probably in February.
Okay.
He was actually doing really good.
How many months since the diagnosis?
November, December, January.
You're doing this math thing.
3?
with her again.
3 months. Okay, so
3.5 months.
About three and a half months in.
He had went to an appointment. They gave him that prescription for the THC. I think that's right.
Yeah,
and
sure, yeah.
he was so excited.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Well, he
He's
couldn't
like,
do it
oh
the
my
whole
God, I'm
time."
going to go home. This is awesome. And actually, his treatment had worked. His tumor had shrunk
Okay.
more than 50%.
Whoa.
Yeah. So he was very excited. We
Wow.
had a great Christmas
Okay.
Yeah.
and Thanksgiving and everything. And it was because I knew he was doing good, but still the timeline that the doctor gave
Yeah.
was still up in the air. So it was whatever he wanted.
Okay.
Whatever he wanted. Like he wanted his mother's roast for Thanksgiving or
Yep.
Christmas. Yeah, it was Thanksgiving instead of turkey. Like he was like, gosh, I'd love to have that
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy.
Like a friend of mine was a butcher at Ingles, and I was like, I need this specific cut of meat.
Yeah.
It was like $80.
Ooh.
Yeah, real quick.
Okie dokie, and it's okay. That's good.
Yeah.
So I was a cook and a chef for 15 years. What is your mother's roast recipe?
I don't even know.
You don't know?
Well, it was,
he needs
it
it
was
now.
his mother.
Oh, his mother.
Okay.
Oh.
it was an
Yeah, and she
80-pound
was
cut of meat.
So sweet.
Oh.
She's from Poland.
Hey,
She's real tiny.
are you serious?
Yeah.
Like my heritage is Polish. I think our dads would have been friends.
Maybe.
I think so.
Well, so his mother's from Poland and his dad was from Spain. So that's where we get the Menendez.
That's where you get the Menendez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were Polish French.
Yeah.
Weird.
That's why you're so white.
I know, right? I'm transparent.
Pierogies.
Yeah, pierogies.
Pierogies. Gotta have pierogies. Yeah.
So it was just more like anything you wanted, whatever you asked for. Like you don't have to ask twice. It's happening. Like that's what you want. That's what we're gonna have. And it was, there's certain things, certain foods he was supposed to stay away from, like stuff with vitamin K because it helps clot your blood.
Yep.
And he said, I don't care. Like I'm eating broccoli, and he said it's one. He said,
screw you guys. I mean broccoli.
Yeah.
His quote, I'm gonna fucking die anyway, so I'm gonna have some broccoli.
I'm gonna have some fucking broccoli.
That's
And
my
I was
hero.
like, it's not gonna, you'll be fine. It's one serving of broccoli. Like it's not every day.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
eat whatever you want.
Right. It's a holiday. Yeah.
So-
Yeah. So, and then we go back, he found the tumor reduced by 50%, a little
Right.
more than 50%. They were super excited about it.
Okay.
His doctor was like, this is incredible. Like this has turned out great,
Sure.
So we were like, oh, that's awesome. And then 2 days later,
What happened?
he was going up his stairs and he felt like he was having a heart attack.
Okay.
So he called my sister. That's who gets called first, is my sister. I'm the last one. Apparently, I'm not as great in an emergency situation as she is.
Okay.
Not true, by the way.
Not
But
true.
anyway,
All right.
I'll take
so
your
he
word
calls
for
her, and she was like, you need to call 911. I'll be there in 5 minutes. I'll be there before they get there, but go ahead and call them. I'll be right there. So since he was right in Weaverville, that's where we live. So we were all we can be anywhere in Weaverville in 10 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Less
Yeah.
than 10 minutes.
Sure.
And so she went right over, called me. I met them at the hospital, and they did a scan, and it's metastasized.
Oh.
So, okay, well, now what do we do?
Sure.
It seems like a new diagnosis. Now what are our options? And it was really just, well, we can do this type of treatment again. We can, focus radiation here. Metastasize to his brain.
That's
So
Okay.
we were like, okay. We didn't know anything
what
about it.
What does this mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so a tumor.
Right.
Alrighty,
Yeah.
so
This
on to
is
the
in
next round.
This is in February.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're sitting there. My sister went to get something for him. He had asked for like a hot fudge sundae or a banana split or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, where do we find that? Like it's February. We don't have a lot.
Yeah.
We didn't have quite as many foodie places around in 2010 as we
Yeah.
do now.
You better make it, damn it.
And so she was off getting that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was sitting there and I just put a movie on for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he looks at me and he has the weirdest look on his face, just kind of like, and I said, what's up?
Yeah.
Like, what are we staring at?
I like
Okay.
your attitude, by the way.
And
This is awesome. Like, what's up?
He was like, he starts talking to me and asking about my sister, but he's saying my sister April.
Yeah.
So I was
But
like,
you're
and so
April.
I looked at him. I was like, I'm April.
Yeah.
He said, no, your April went to get such and such, but he wasn't talking about a banana split. And I said, but I'm April. And then he said, no, your sister April. And I said, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I said, well, you know what? She'll be back in a minute.
Yeah.
So it's fine. Watch your movie. Like I just put that on. And like I turned sideways and I'm texting my sister and I said, get the hell back here now.
Right.
Like I don't even know if you get out of the parking lot. Just
Yeah.
drop it. Like you need to come back here. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what to do
Okay.
or how to handle this or what. I'm not going to say anything to him because this is weird. I
Right.
need you to see if this is like an incident or like a fluke of what's happening and it's still going to be this way in 5 minutes or what.
Okay.
And so she calls me and she's like, what's going on? And I was like, nothing. Are you almost back? Trying to have just a conversation.
Sure.
And she was like, I got his banana split. I'm coming back.
So she found it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said, well, hurry up. And she said, what's happening? And I was like, yeah, we'll talk to you when you get here.
Sure.
Yeah.
And she goes, God almighty. She
Yeah.
so I
Oh
said,
yeah. If you
okay,
told that.
bye, you know?
Oh God. If you'd have said that to me in that tone of voice, I'd have been like, shut the fuck. Like.
Yeah.
No.
I'd be like,
What's
okay,
going
see
on?
you in a
What's
minute.
happening?
It's a
right now?
double-edged sword.
And then I
Like
hang up.
Oh, we'll talk to you when you get here. No, you're going to tell me
Yeah.
right
No,
now.
you
what's going
didn't.
And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I can't.
you just hung up.
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
Jesus.
Yeah, I was like, I'll see you in a minute.
It's a double-edged sword.
Like, you just need to get
Yeah.
here. I
I'd have been
can't.
Right.
Like, I'm sitting in this recliner. He's in his bed. We're
Yeah.
watching this movie together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
And
that happened.
So, like, I can't answer her questions right then.
No.
He's going to notice
right,
something
okay.
when I close the recliner, get
Right.
up,
And
walk
get up
out of the
and walk out.
room, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'm keeping something from him.
I would have been doing about 95 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Let me
I would
tell
have
you
blown
this.
through every freaking traffic
Yeah,
light.
he's an investigative. Let me tell you this, like the metastasizing of the brain, that happened with my dad, and it was like
Instant.
that,
Wow.
Yeah.
and it went from being a 72-year-old, just super intelligent man to almost a child
Yeah.
with him. And but it was that the first thing that I noticed when it started going, and I said we need to go to the doctor to my mom, was he started telling the same stories over and again. And that's normally when you're like 80 or 90, not 72. And they noticed it, but and this is what I love about your attitude with that, because you were like, I'm not going to say anything to him because
Yeah.
it'll freak him
Yeah.
out. Because I'm not knocking my brother or my mom. They just didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
They said, you've already told us that. Like
Yeah.
repeatedly. Like
Oh, they didn't pick up on it?
they-
Yeah.
And I
didn't pick
pulled
up on
both of
it.
them aside. And this is the only time I've ever cussed at my mom, by the way.
Yeah.
I said, if you guys don't shut the fuck up and stop telling him he's repeated himself, his biggest fear is losing his mind.
Right.
Like the power of the brain. And you're just telling him it's going when you do that. Because you could see the confusion when they did that. So I
Right.
applaud you for that. But how hard was that to do?
Actually, it really wasn't that hard
To keep it from
because
him?
I was trying to think. I just have a habit of doing that, of putting myself in somebody else's
Yeah.
shoes. What would I want? You know,
Yes.
how would I? And I wouldn't want to be scared. Like
Exactly.
he already has enough to be scared about, and I
Yep.
don't want to freak him out. Like, but I'm April. I'm,
Oh,
you
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know who I
Yeah.
am. Do you know my, we're freaking
Right.
out.
Yeah.
I
Perfect.
don't want to scare him. Plus, I want to talk to my sister because we're in this together, and I
Yes.
don't want to do anything or set off any alarms yet until she gets there, and we can kind of like have just a regular, casual, cool conversation and see if she picks up on anything, or if it's just like me, he's having a brain fart. I don't know. Like,
Right. Okay,
he's just
sure.
like, oh, I was half asleep, really, and
Yeah.
I totally
He took
thought
those-
you were your sister because we look a lot
Maybe
alike.
the THC pills.
He took those
Yeah.
THC pills and was
Yeah.
like, hey, April, what's
Yeah.
give me the thing?
So I was like, okay. So she gets back and we're kind of sitting there talking, and I don't remember specifically what we were talking about, but it was instantly she could see that he's not the same as he was 20 minutes ago.
Okay.
right.
That it's just
sure.
something's a little off, like not totally different, just slightly. No, my dad would know
Okay.
Right.
that. That's weird.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
he would say that. So we left the room for a minute.
Mhm.
When she first got there, we left the room. So this is what happened. Now I remember. We left the room to kind of talk outside, and I was like, he thinks I'm you.
Right.
He's talking to me like I'm you. That's why I texted you. So I don't know what's going on.
It's almost like an Alzheimer's thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like I
Oh.
don't know
Yeah.
if maybe it's a reaction to medication or
Sure.
he's probably tired. I don't know. So we went in, and his movie, we had just started it, and he was sitting there mad. He's got the laptop up on the little bed tray or whatever.
Sure.
And I walk over and the credits are rolling. And I was like, what happened? He was like, this movie's stupid. And I was like, what button did you hit? And he was like, I didn't hit any button.
Yeah, I know.
You hit all the buttons. Like, I hit play 5 seconds ago before we walked outside. Now the movie's over. Like, you're hitting buttons. April, I didn't hit any buttons. And he, like, shoved the tray away. And I was like, alrighty. Like, we'll just watch
Yep.
something else.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I said, or I can push this way over here where you can't touch it, and I'll hit play again.
Oh.
Like, what do we want to do?
What do you want to do, Dad?
You're like a little Nazi when it comes to that.
I
You're
know.
like,
Yeah, like,
yeah?
you want to sit here? And so he was very particular. So he was always like a different attitude to take in. And I don't know if it was a lot to do with his background of
Yeah.
his work,
Sure, yeah.
being a police officer. He's not like lovey-dovey, oh, I'm going to cuddle up with my dad on the couch.
Right.
It was maybe holidays and birthdays that we hugged a lot. So
Okay.
it wasn't, but it doesn't mean like we didn't love each other.
Right.
Right.
Like we could pal around and hang out, and that's good enough.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to hug you,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, one of the things, being in the military, being in law enforcement, being a paramedic, EMS, people who deal with stuff like that, and oddly enough, sometimes even in the field that you work in a cancer ward and stuff, having to experience repeatedly these traumatic experiences and see things that most people don't have the opportunity to see.
yeah.
You learn that you look at the situation and go, in order for me to be able to show up for work tomorrow and to be able to do this, I have to turn off the way that I feel.
Right.
Because if I really, like, it's starting to really seep in and affect me. So I'm just
Yeah.
going to shut everything off so that I can do my job or be
Yeah.
here. And the hard thing is that once you learn how to actually flick that switch, it's very difficult ever to turn it back on.
Yeah.
And it's something where it's like you don't really keep it at your job in emergency services or in the military or in working with terminal patients and people and stuff like that. The switch just gets left off. And
Oh, yeah.
sometimes you forget how to turn it back on.
Well, we would always say Dad's having a touchdown. So he'd be like, all like, hey, what are you doing? You should come over for dinner. And I'm like, why?
What?
What's
Why?
going
You want to
on?
have dinner?
Who's this?
Okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't, and it was, I'm more like him
Okay.
than anyone else, than my sister. I have no problem saying to someone exactly what I think.
Okay.
Right.
Or what I'm seeing. Like, it's not an issue.
I've picked that up
And-
on.
Yeah.
And my sister's the same way, except with him,
Okay.
she wasn't that way. And I
Yeah.
think it's because she was older. She saw more when my parents were getting divorced, so that she saw different things than what I saw.
Yeah.
And she knows a different side of him than me. So I mean, there was even a part where we were bringing him home from the hospital the first time, and it was, here we are, we're getting all of this stuff for him, we're making, she's running around like crazy, we got to pick up medications, prescriptions, we're doing this, we're picking this up for him and doing all that, and he sits down and he's just very flustered and just like abrupt and harsh. And
That was out of character for him, I take it at this point.
No.
This is
No, that was
this
normal.
was at the beginning.
that's-
No, this
that's
was him.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And he was just harsh, and it instantly pissed me off.
Okay.
Like, I
All
was
right.
just instantly mad. Like,
Yeah.
you don't get to act like that.
Right.
When we've all three been sitting in the same room. We've all heard the same news. We're all having our own reactions to this. You don't need to be mad at anyone in this room.
Okay.
Right.
And my sister was real upset and was just like, not crying, but she was just being really quiet. And
Okay.
that's when I know there's something wrong. If she's being really quiet, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And so openly, just in the living room, I was like, what the hell's your problem?
Oh, shit.
Like, what is
Okay,
going
yeah.
on? I said, we're not stealing your credit card.
Right.
So we'll give that back to you. We're not taking money from you. I said, your daughter over here just
Yeah.
went and picked up all of your stuff that we had to get,
Okay.
that was called in. Here's that. Like, what is going
Wow.
on? What is
Yeah.
the attitude for? Like, what is it?
You're
And
calling
he
him
wa-
on his shit.
Yeah, and he was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. No, I love you guys. Like, you
Oh!
helped me
Okay.
so much. And
All right.
he said, no, I was thinking about this and this and this. I have all this on my mind. I said, that's fine. And that's totally understandable. Don't, there's no need to portray it like
Yeah,
that. Don't take
sure.
it out on Trudy. She's bending over more than backwards
Yeah.
to take care of you
Okay.
and to make sure everything's taken care of. We're not going to do anything that we shouldn't do. Like, we're going to go on a shopping spree with your cool black Visa. Like, I don't want anything.
Your cool
So
the
she,
plum.
Right.
so like, she burst into tears, and he was like, Trudy, I'm so sorry. And he gets up and he hugs her, and it's,
Wow.
which we didn't hug a lot. So
Yeah.
then she cried even more. And and
Yeah.
he was like, definitely, call me out. It's not you. Like, it's not, I'm thinking about something else. I said, okay, well, we just need to be open
Okay.
Yeah.
for this. Like, that's not going to work.
Transparent communication.
Of her
yeah.
feeling like you're thinking she's doing something wrong when she's not.
Right.
So,
So-
Good for you though.
Yeah.
Like, that's,
Well, it's bothersome. I don't like that.
no, I get that. Yeah.
So then it got to the point, like, once we figured out that something was wrong with him the last time in the hospital in February.
right, and your sister shows
And
up.
yeah,
the hot
and
fuzz. He
with
thinks
the
that.
movie, and he had hit all the buttons, and now he's at the end of the movie. So we went back out. One of us went out. My sister went out and got the nurse and was like, hey, this is what's happening. Is Dr. Che around? Like, is there any way to call him in here? Or can you come in and ask some questions? You talked to him earlier and he was fine, and we would just want you to see the difference.
Okay.
She saw the difference.
Yeah.
She did.
The
she was
nurse
able to
did,
recognize it.
yeah.
Okay.
And then called the doctor for him to come back. So it ended up being the swelling of the multiple tumors in his brain.
Oh yeah.
And so Dr. Che talked to all of us in the room, explained everything, and was like, you're very lucky because just forgetting your name or, confusing you with your
Yeah.
sister, the swelling could easily go a different way and press on something else.
Yep.
And he has seen it firsthand, where they're mean. You're mean now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where,
Like
you're a totally different person.
Like
I
a
would much
constant
rather.
state of being mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Angry and,
Sure.
it's
What was
terrible.
it? So what was he like moving forward from that point? Like,
Most of the time, it was just really touch and go. I mean, like he was very. Ever since we had the confrontation at the beginning, it was we didn't have any problems, and it was we're here for you. Like it's not. We're not trying to take anything. Like, we're doing everything for you. So.
Was there more forgetfulness or
once we got
absent-mindedness
home,
or anything? Like as the weeks progressed, like what was
Yeah.
it like in the next couple weeks?
Once we left the hospital,
Sure.
the doctor explained that it could be 3 days or it could be
Oh,
3
shit.
weeks or it could be 3 months.
Yeah.
He said, you just can't tell.
Okay.
Like with this, it's, you don't know. We don't know how fast the tumors are growing. So we ended up, before we were discharged from the hospital, we went with hospice. So hospice came in.
Right.
And explained everything that they're going to do, which they're amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
And a lot of people, I think, get sort of confused. They're not just for end of life.
No.
Like they're to help take care of you. And I think that's just kind of a misconception of what services they offer. And a lot of people are scared. They're like, no, I don't want hospice.
No, yeah.
But you really do because
do.
they're amazing.
They are. They
At
are.
at the end when my mom was like I said, she'd been diagnosed, and in a lot of similar situations. I like the fact I like the term that you use. You know, we got him settled for the night because we had to do the same thing with my mom. She couldn't sleep in a bed, so she would have to sleep on the couch, and that was the thing we would go over, and we did that too. It was about okay, what do you want to do today? You know, and it was literally she could have said I want to fly to Paris, and they'd been like,
Yeah. We're like, okay, let's see how we
okay,
make
I'm
this
just got the
happen.
tickets. Fuck, we're going to
I
Paris.
get a ticket still on the plane.
You know,
Well,
and
he was-
in doing that, you know, that was the thing, you know, that we had to get her settled. And what ended up happening with her is once she had gotten to the point, she got to the end, and I won't go into all the details just because of a time situation. I met with hospice, and like what they told me about all the different services that they offered. I thought it too was like just kind of end of life, just
Yeah.
kind of hand holding and stuff. Because I mean, it was also about giving a break. I mean, because you know they're at the end and everything. I mean, we got to the point where it was like I had to wash my mom, I had to dress my mom. You know, my wife at the time had to help me with that. I mean, as it progressed, it got into like some serious caregiving. Did you
Right.
guys go through that, or was
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, we left the hospital. Hospice came in. They got us the hospital bed because he couldn't go up and down the stairs anymore. So he couldn't go in his room.
Okay.
And like thinking back, it's like, how did he know that he would leave his house that day and he'd never see his bed again?
Sure.
Like, it's just so sad. Like, you want to be in your bed, not a hospice or, you know, a hospital twin-sized bed.
Yeah.
So, of course, we get all this extra stuff to make it even more comfortable, like foam crates or whatever.
Right,
Like,
right.
you know, and then he's got like a 60-inch TV in the living room. So I'm like, it's not the worst situation you're in front of this TV.
Right.
You know, doing whatever. And he was still up and mobile and everything. And they would have a nurse come check on him once or twice a week because we weren't at that point. We didn't really
weren't full-time,
need
yeah.
anything. We don't know what we need yet because we don't know what's happening. Like, we're still kind of like watching and seeing what happens.
Did it get to a point where, like, I mean, did you guys have to do like basic care, like like feeding and dressing and bathing and stuff like that?
I used to do his haircuts.
Oh, did you really? That's cool.
Yeah.
That's totally cool.
So take him outside and do his haircuts. I cut his nails and file those down and with his hands too. And he'd always yell at me while I was doing it to make sure not to cut the skin because he'll bleed to death. Because he's on Coumadin.
Okay.
And I was like,
That's
okay, you're not. I'm not going to cut you with nail clippers.
My dad was on Coumadin and would not let my mom cut his nails
Yeah.
for that reason. That's insane.
There's so many funny stories. There's so many different things. Like he got locked in his Corvette
Oh, did
once.
he? Okay.
And he had to climb through the back seat and out the trunk because there's an emergency hatch.
Holy shit.
And he was like, all I had were these scissors. And I was like, holy shit, like you're on Coumadin. You're going to slice your hand. You're going to bleed to death in the trunk of your own car.
Well-
like, we're not going to be able to explain this away.
No.
Nobody's gonna believe us.
But that's still pretty kick ass though.
Yeah, like
he was MacGyver.
amazing. Yeah.
So like when you were doing that, like you did all that stuff, the end of care stuff that's part
Mm-hmm.
of it, and I did that with I helped my mom with that, and it's heavy.
Yeah.
At a point, but it sounds like you had fun with it. Like
We had a blast.
would
Yeah,
you
made
play
the
like
best of it.
music and stuff when you did like his haircuts? Or,
Yeah, he
Yeah?
always had 50s music playing.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
on
That-
Sirius XM, the
Okay.
50s
Right.
on 5 or
What was your
whatever it was
dad's name?
called. Rudy.
Rudy. Okay.
My dad's name was Steve, and they were unknown best friends.
He
like
played
I'm
it in the
telling you.
hospital. He played
Yeah.
it from
he
his
did.
laptop.
Okay.
He didn't care
Yep.
what anybody else was going through outside the door. He likes it at this volume, and that's what it's going to be at.
These guys suck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't care. There's no headphones either. It's as loud as he wants it.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
He'll make
cool.
everyone happy or piss him off. He doesn't care.
Yeah. So
And so I would take it for rides in his Corvette.
Okay.
yeah.
So I was still in school. My sister like I said, she dropped out of school
Yeah.
to take care of him
Right.
full time.
So
She
you could go
did
to school.
FMLA from work. So she was there during the day, and I would come after school
Mm-hmm.
and kind of give her a break
Okay.
to do whatever. And I'd bundle him up. We'd go for a walk. Like, he was in a wheelchair because he couldn't walk that well anymore. He's just very weak. Or I'd load him into his car, and he would make me take him for rides in his Corvette.
Really?
Which I did not enjoy. I don't particularly care for driving those cars. The
Why?
front end makes me very nervous.
Okay.
It's so long. Like, I'm not good with the turns or whatever.
Okay.
But I never went fast enough anyway. 80 miles an hour is not fast enough, by the way.
Oh, for him, it wasn't fast enough?
Yeah.
Oh,
Dad's
what did he
awesome.
want you to
Yeah.
do?
He would yell at me to punch it. Like, he's like, punch it.
No,
Like,
no.
"What-"
Okay.
And then he's like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I'm not doing that. Like,
I want to hear impression. How did he say punch it? Like, was he like,
no, he's sitting bundled up with a crocheted Afghan over him in the passenger seat, which, even though it was February, he'd make me put the top down.
Shut the
because it's
fuck.
a Corvette. Duh.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
So
we're
it's
not.
February and you're driving around
Yeah,
with the top
so
down.
I've got a toboggan on everything. We're going down Reeves Creek in Weaverville,
Right?
which is curvy, and then there's a good straightaway.
Okay.
So we're on our way back. I did a turnaround. We're on our way back down Reeves Creek, and he's bundled up, and he looks over, and he's like, punch it. He was like, why are you going so fucking slow? And I was like, I don't have a timeline right
Okay.
now, and I'm not going to get
You're not
ended in this car.
Yeah, it's not going to be your end.
No.
man?
Well,
And
he
he was
was
like, come on.
Well, he was a
Thanks,
little.
dude.
He's I mean, he was a police officer. He's used
Yeah.
to that high speed.
Oh
thing.
yeah. I mean, he taught me to drive. I'm a very good driver.
That thing
You
got a
probably
Hemi?
noticed
Yeah.
you probably noticed in the Uber.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
I
yeah.
did.
So,
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So,
I need to find this out.
So
Yeah.
you're doing things that he like
Anything
other
he
little
wanted.
so anything he wanted.
Anything he
Yeah.
wanted to
Okay.
do.
All right.
He
So he's-
wanted milkshakes. The way I made them wasn't really good enough, so I had to go and buy a Magic Bullet blender,
Okay.
and then I had to go
We
buy
had one.
malt
Yep.
powder mix
Yep.
because he wanted malts. He wanted candies. Things he would want were things from his childhood.
This is
Okay.
crazy.
Chuckles candy.
Yeah.
I told
Yeah,
you about
we talked
that.
about
the
that,
Chuckles.
yeah, in the
My
Uber.
sister
Yeah.
went all over for Chuckles, but I don't know if you're familiar with those. They're jelly candies that come in a pack of
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
He only wanted the red ones. So we can't just buy one pack of Chuckles. We have to buy like 10 or 15 when you actually find them. And then we have to separate the red ones, and the rest can go in the trash. Or somebody else can eat them if they want. He's
Right.
not touching them.
Time out. I just want to say you and your sister are amazing because it sounded like at the end you treated your dad like he was in the green room about to do
Oh,
on
yeah.
a concert
Yeah.
like Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
Like he was a
5,000
celebrity.
brown M&Ms.
Yeah.
Or Scott.
anything
Scott's
he
like
wanted.
that. Yeah.
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 So you guys treated him like a celebrity because I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
it sounds like he
Anything and
was.
everything he wanted.
Yeah, he was a
Steak for
celebrity.
dinner. He wants beer on it.
Nice.
So he was
Run
like-
right out and get it.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm gonna punch it.
yeah, there was one night, I think I told you about this, Scott. I was like, I would come in, I would be sleeping on the couch. If it was my sister's night off, she'd be upstairs and she would sleep in his bed.
Yeah.
So I'd be on the couch, so I'm on duty.
Right.
So whatever he wants, I finally get to sleep,
Okay.
and then I hear him at 3 a.m.
Oh.
I wasn't allowed to turn the TV off, and we had to keep it at 15.
Okay.
15 decibels.
This is so crazy.
And if I tried to turn it down, he's like, I like it at 15, i.e. turn it back to 15.
Yeah, turn it back
You know
to
I like it
got
at 15, right?
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
or if I changed
Sure.
the channel, it
Right.
was, let me see the remote. And then he changed it back.
Did you have
So
to put the
there's
tape
no-
on the remote like so he didn't press the wrong buttons?
Nope.
We did.
Oh,
He had it
okay.
all figured out.
Well,
Okay.
When they hit
Yep.
that, he was like pressing every wrong
Yeah.
button. It's crazy.
So okay, so
So I was asleep on the couch.
Sure.
He wakes me up at 3 in the morning.
right.
April. April. And I'm like, yep. What's up? Are you awake? I am.
I am now.
I am. I sure am awake.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm hungry. Okay, well, what do you want? I was like, Dad, it's 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Are you wanting breakfast? Like, maybe we can wait 6 hours or something, a few more hours. And he's like, I'm hungry now. So I would go to McDonald's.
Okay.
He was like, will you go get me some breakfast from McDonald's? Thank God they were open 24 hours.
Yeah.
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 And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I will.
Sure.
He was like, make some coffee before you go. I'm all over it.
Oh,
Let me
man.
just be back in the kitchen. I'm making coffee at 3 in the morning. And then he was like, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
He's like, I know you're tired. I'm sorry. He said the steroids, like I can't. He's still
Right.
taking steroids, like I can't sleep.
Yeah.
Don't sleep. And I was like, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
Inside.
Yeah. So he asked, I said, what do you want from McDonald's? And we still laugh. Instead of an egg McMuffin,
Yeah.
he called it an egg McMurvis.
An egg McMurvis.
An egg McMurvis?
So even to this, and I never corrected him. I was like,
No,
you got
no,
it.
no.
You
I know
got it.
exactly what you want.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So even
Egg
to this
McMurvis
day,
it is.
even my sister, she's like, I'm eating an egg McMurvis. Like, I'll never call him a McMuffin again.
Right.
It's a McMurvis.
Right.
It's
So
the greatest
that's
thing. So then
amazing.
I get in the car, I go do it, and now I'm up for the
Yeah.
day. Like, here we go.
It's day started.
Yeah.
So speaking of days, what was the last day like?
It was really weird. So the day before, his hospice nurse had come and visited us.
Okay.
And I was like, I can tell he's deteriorating. Like, he's really declining really fast. Like, it's different. He's sleeping so much more. He's not up. He's not as talkative. Like, he would just fall asleep a lot. And she showed us his feet where the blood was pulling up.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, like, I didn't even notice his feet.
Yeah.
And here we are, like, giving him baths and everything. I mean, you don't notice the bottom of someone's feet.
No.
Right.
So she was like, well, it's up to you guys. Like, how long? She said, I've seen people like this for 3 weeks. I said, oh. Even my sister, I remember, she said, I'm going to blow my brains out if this is 3 weeks.
Yeah.
If she said this, we won't be able, I can't do this for 3 weeks. Like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
So she said, it's up to you. Like, I said, well, what do we do? Like, is he in pain? Like, should we be, because, with hospice, you're kind of in control of the medication.
Yep.
And the nurse was like, I have patients that are on 10 times the morphine that you're giving him.
Yeah.
Is that bad? Like,
Not.
and she said, it's up to you to stop, like, the steroids. It's up to you to stop. She said, you can't save him. There's really no point in the steroids. And I said, oh, well, that makes sense. You know,
right.
like, obviously, I guess you still think, like, maybe something would change, but.
Right.
And so that night, my sister was like, well, what should we do? And I said, well, I mean, I think we should stop him. Like, he's tired. He's done. Like, he's done. There's nothing that's not going to get better. So I said, give him more morphine. Like, we don't know. Like, he's not talking anymore. So we don't know if, like, is he hurting? We didn't know. And so we did. We stopped the steroids. And I think we gave him just like twice as much as what he was taking before of the morphine. Like, we could still sit him up for him to take a pill.
Okay.
And we tucked him in his bed. And, it's like weeks of sleeping on a couch. And I was like, oh man, Drudy, let's sleep in his bed. Like, he had just gotten this brand new bed. It was huge. It was so, like, pillow top and all that, Yeah, we went and I was like, yeah, let's sleep up there. Like, I can stretch out, I'm 5'10", like, couches aren't great for me. Like, you don't get to fit on those the same.
Right.
So we went up there and we had a baby monitor that we kept inside with him anyway. If we had to do stuff around the house, and we'd have the other end. So we sat with that upstairs. And so we woke up the next morning on our own. And I woke up and I was like, like, it's the realization of the sun's out. Like, why aren't we awake yet?
So it was after sunrise.
All right.
Okay.
So we, like, ran down the stairs, and his breathing was just, I've heard it called a death rattle.
Yes.
And that's exactly what it was. It was just like there was something like I don't know, just like not a gargling, but it, like, you can just hear, it sounds like phlegm in their throat. Like they need to cough, but it's just, breathing through their mouth. And his mouth was open, and I was like, oh my God. Like, he looked totally different. Like, he didn't wake up, but he was still breathing. So my sister was like, we gave him too much morphine. So I was like, no, we didn't. He's fine. He's breathing. He's breathing.
Yeah.
Like, that's that. So I was like, we just need to we'll call the hospice nurse and just tell her, like, swing by, like, maybe take a peek.
Yeah.
We're not nurses.
Sure.
Like, we don't know what we're looking at.
Okay.
So she came by and she showed us how he was deteriorating more. And, like, she had shown us on the feet the day before, and then today she flipped his hands over, and it was purple on the bottom of his hands. So she was like, and you'll see, like, under the nail, like, the nail bed will go start turning purple. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay. So she said, here's what you watch for. And I said, well, where are we at now with this? Like, what? And she said, again, I've seen people like this for a long time. Mm-hmm. I said, okay. She said, just call me when it gets. She said, you should say your goodbyes. And I said, but
Okay.
can he hear? Like,
Yeah.
is he gonna know what I'm saying? And so she said, yeah, they can hear everything. So be careful, like, because even when we were having this conversation, we went outside.
Okay.
So that she was like, he can still hear you.
Sure.
I said, okay. So I did that as soon as she left, and she hugged all of us. She was like, I'm so sorry.
Oh, she did.
She was so sweet. Her and I had it out also before it got bad.
Okay.
With him, and that we fixed that. But anyway, she hugged all of us. She's like, I'm really sorry. You have my cell phone number. You call me
Right.
immediately. Like, if anything changes, you call me.
Okay.
And I said, okay. And so my sister called my mom, and my mom had been there helping take care of him also the whole time. Like, she was there with my sister helping do things and cook and all of that. I didn't want to leave her out because she'd get really mad. But we called her because she had went home. My grandmother was still alive then, and my mom was at home with her taking care of her.
Okay.
And my mom came by because she was in the area. So she went ahead and came by, and she said, I'm going to go get your grandmother because my grandmother loved my dad.
Okay.
And she was like, I know she'll want to say goodbye.
Right.
So I was like, okay. So, and my daughter was at school. She was at daycare because she was only, God, I guess, she was only like 3.5.
Oh, okay.
And,
Yeah.
she was, so she was at school. So my mom left. So it was just me and my sister there. My sister called her fiance, Nick, to tell him
Okay.
what was happening, and it let everybody know, like, this is what's going on. So I left the room. And my sister said her goodbye, and she came out. I went outside to smoke. So
Okay. Are you a smoker?
yes,
Oh, I didn't know
it's
that.
terrible. I
No, I
quit
didn't
for a
know
long
that.
time, and
Okay.
then I
All
started. But anyway, it's terrible.
All right.
You can edit that and not put that out.
You know what?
I feel terrible working at the cancer.
Right.
You know what's interesting when at the end there with my mom, it was the same thing, and it was a matter of we chose not to do hospice because we didn't want her to go through that type of life. And
Yeah.
the family, we brought the family all up to the hospital. Most of them were there to say goodbye. And it's interesting you mentioned the morphine thing because it was a matter of I met with the doctors and told them I basically it wasn't so much of asking a question. I told them this was going to go down one of two ways. I said, you guys, my mother's in pain.
All right.
And she's not going to end like this. Not, 3 weeks, 4 weeks in hospice, whatever, at home or in a bed and hooked up to machines and tubes because at this point she was unconscious.
Right.
And I told them, I said, you guys can come in the room and you can leave a tray with morphine on it and we can go ahead and administer that to her. Or when my mother's in pain, I'll tell you because I'm her son and I know how to read her.
Yeah.
And you'll administer morphine. And the doctor was like, I don't know if we can do this. And he went down the hall and he talked with the nurse or some other people at the hospital and he came back and said, okay, Mr. Rambo, we'll be in the room with you. And it was a matter of, about every 10 minutes I looked at him and said, I said, she's in pain. And another 5 minutes go by and I'd say, she's in pain. And they were like, okay, we'll give her some more morphine. So, but the same thing, we were all able to get everybody together and say their goodbyes, and they told us the same thing. Yeah, they can hear you. And we had, my brother actually showed up and he brought up music, and we're playing, favorite songs of hers and stuff like that, all the way up to the end. And it's interesting. I had quit smoking for 6 years, and right when she left, I turned to my brother was a smoker. I turned to I looked at my brother. I said, "Give me a fucking cigarette."
Yeah.
And and I've been smoking ever since, and that
Right.
was 8 years ago.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
It's a terrible habit.
it is.
But we, one of the things that happened at the beginning when he was first diagnosed in the hospital, we were, after the doctor first left, we were kind of like, I never used to cry.
Really? Okay.
Ever.
Never.
Like, I don't have any problem. Like, I wasn't too sensitive. When anything with my dad, or if something reminds me of my dad.
Yeah.
9 years later, like, I'll burst into tears.
Yeah.
Really?
Like, it
Okay.
takes nothing.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm so weak now.
No.
And it was before it was like such this hard exterior
Yeah.
where it's not, I don't know, it just opened ever since he got sick. It's just been some like emotional floodgates.
Well, see, that's
open where
interesting
it's like I'm
because
so much more caring now.
But see, that's interesting because like all the way up until this point right here, until I asked you a question about the last day. I mean, you've talked. I
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me, that wasn't me crying. I was just pardon me.
choking on
Yeah, I was
Doritos?
choking on Dorito chips because I had some before the show. I mean, you talk about him and everything like that as if, like you've contended with it, you've dealt
Right.
with it. Yeah.
And talking about like this funny story or that funny story, like
Sure.
it's nothing. It's
Okay.
nice.
Yeah.
All right.
And I remember when he was diagnosed, we were, the doctor had left the room. We were talking about it, and I was just kind of staring out the window because I didn't want to look at him because I was like, I'm just gonna burst into tears.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was like, April, what do you think? Like, what are you thinking? And I was like, I think I want you here when I graduate. Like, I'm finally doing something that I want to do, and you're not gonna be here. You're gonna miss it. And he was like, no. He said, I want to be here when Julianne graduates. And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
I want you here when I graduate.
Yeah.
Like this.
All right.
Like that's pretty far off with her, but
Okay.
and I remember he grabbed me and hugged me, and he was like, I'll be there. He said, he was always there for I was on the dean's list the whole time I was in school.
Okay.
Came to all of those awards show, and he would always get pissed when they said my last name.
Would he really?
He was at one point, he yelled out, come on.
Oh.
Like, because I get Hernandez a lot, which
Yeah.
is odd
Okay.
because there's no H's
There's no
or
H.
Yeah.
whatever. And or R's, but
Yeah.
um so it was always a joke. And then he so when it came to the last day,
Yeah.
I had went outside to smoke so my sister could say her goodbyes, and I went in, so I was by myself with him. I remember holding his hand, and his hands were so cold, but we always kept him bundled up because he
Yeah.
was always cold. And I remember talking to him and telling him things, and I knew it was really important that my daughter knew about him. And I was like, I'm going to tell her everything about you that I know, because I know you were not a talker, so there's a lot of things in your life that are awesome that I'd miss that we don't know because you didn't tell us. I said, but I'm going to make sure that Julianne knows you, that she knows all about you and how much she loves you. And I was like, thank you for being so mean sometimes and like not saving me every time I called you and asked you for $20 or to bail me out of something, not jail, but like to bail me out of a situation that I got myself into. Like, thank you for saying no. Like, I know you did it because you love me and you don't want me to be reliant on someone else. Like, you taught me to take care of myself. Like, you're amazing. Like, I love you, and we don't hug or we don't say I love you all the time, and that's okay. I know that you love me. I was like, always. I'm not even lying to you that tears were coming out of his eyes.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
While
and
you
part,
were-
of, and
while
part
you
of
were-
me thought
So
that
he-
it was just, just water, like
Yeah.
coming out of your
Right.
eyes.
Right.
And so I was like,
But they were tears.
And I told him, I was like, we did everything you wanted us to do.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you're not in the hospital. You did not want that. He was very specific. I said, we already made your arrangements. Like, everything's taken care of. I'm not going to separate your ashes.
Okay.
You're not going to sit on my fireplace forever, because he was so mad.
That's so corny. I bet
he would've
Yeah, he was like, do not.
He
He said, April, don't. Yeah, he was
Oh my
like, don't
God.
leave me up there forever. Like, you're going to forget about me. And he was like,
Oh my
eventually put them in like, what is it? Mausoleum.
Mausoleum.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. Don't worry about
And
that. Yeah.
So I was like, everything's done. I was like, we did everything you wanted to do. I said, I just remember saying, like, I know you're really tired. Like, it's okay for you to let go. Like, you don't have to do this anymore.
Okay.
Like, you're done. Like, you did so good. Like, you tried so hard and you're so strong and all that. And I was like, it's okay to let go. Like, we're going to be okay. Like, we're going to be fine and you're going to be great. Like, you're going to heaven. So, like, I'm super jealous, actually. And so I was like, and it's okay. Like, you can go. We're going to be okay.
Okay.
And I remember seeing, like, because he was just laying there, and I remember seeing it come down his face. Well, when the hospice nurse came back, she just came back by. And I asked her about it to the side. I was like, he's kind of, it looks like crying, like tears. And she said, he can hear you, April. I told you. Like, those are tears. Like, that's totally fine. It was still early in the morning. My mom had brought my grandmother back. We were sitting there eating, or no, my grandmother didn't make it back. a friend of my sister's from work brought us pizza. We sat down, and it was his townhouse was like open concept. So his hospice bed was right there in the living room.
Okay.
And then the kitchen table was just right there.
Yeah.
So we were sitting there eating pizza. And I remember we heard this rattly breath, this real deep breath. Mm-hmm. And that was it.
Yeah.
There wasn't any others. And we all stopped. And then like we kind of slowly turned to like wait for a second. And so I got up and we walked over there. And I remember because his mouth was open, I kind of put my head down, like my ear to his mouth. And I remember I busted out laughing. I was like, if he gasps in a breath of air, I'm going to shit my pants. Like, it's going to scare me to death. Because we were at like 30 seconds of nothing. So if I'm right here and it's, I'm going to pee all over myself.
Okay.
And it was just that thought. And we got tickled for a minute. And then the reality set in.
Yeah.
Of what had happened. So we called the nurse back and we let everyone know. And I am religious, as my dad was religious. He was Catholic.
Okay.
His funeral was actually at the Basilica of St. Lawrence, was his church.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what to do for the ceremony, so that was terrible.
Okay.
I flung holy water all over my face. I was so mad. I was like, this is so stupid.
Like, did you reach your hand in and like kind of splash?
No, I had the
and...
thing that you're supposed to do like that,
Oh.
and I threw it back. And I was like, "What
Came
the crap?"
back.
Like,
Had a backfire.
yeah, it went all over me. And I was like, "God, he would be so mad right now if he was watching this." And my mom called from her house and asked if he had passed away, and I said yes. She asked what time it was, and it was 11. I think it was something like 11:03 or 12:03.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And she had been driving home, and a song came on the radio, and then and this sounds so ridiculous.
No.
She felt like this instantly cold feeling, and it was the exact same time.
Wow.
And so I was like, God, that's so crazy. And my grandmother came out, and she finally brought her over, and I hated that she didn't get to say goodbye, but she was okay. But yeah, it was very interesting, because then after that, I had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
No.
Whatsoever. Like,
wow. So that was just the greatest, amazing, because my heart like was just dropped because there were so many similarities, and I don't know how often that is. The death rattle. Mm-hmm. The time we did at home, we had care angels, but they're like hospice, but there were so many just parallel things going on. And we even talked to him. My brother and sister-in-law were waiting to give birth to my niece, and he died right before that. But it was the same thing as graduation, where he was like, I'll be there. Mm-hmm. And then there's things that happen, like the song that just can't be explained.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, you just moved me on that, and because
the entire room was crying.
Yeah, we were there with you.
I have to suck it up.
Right, but I literally lived through some of that.
I still have his ashes.
I have my
You're
in trouble.
They're on a bookshelf.
You're in trouble. But let me ask you this: with your job, like, is there something doing what you do for work that you would tell yourself going through that? Knowing what you knew then and now, is it something like you could give yourself advice or something?
What would you? Yeah,
because that was pretty epic. But now you've seen all of it.
I would give myself advice to not overwhelm yourself and like enjoy the time that you get to take care of them. Yeah, instead of like, this is really hard, or God, there's so many appointments. Because there are.
Yeah, there
a lot
are.
of freaking appointments. Like, it takes your whole day. And I see patients come in and their family's not with them, and it's the saddest thing ever.
It is.
So I'm like, where's your son?
They're busy.
Like, he's supposed to be coming. Oh, he had to work.
Yeah.
And
no, I dropped everything.
It kind of bothers me sometimes, because I'm like, do they not understand
what's going to
the
happen?
diagnosis is? I mean, it's not. I don't understand that. And I think that's because maybe I'm a different type of family member. Maybe they have family members where they're loners and that they don't really have the same relationship.
Some
or
people
whatever,
may choose
like
not
that.
to tell their family that they're going, and
Yeah,
that's hard
there's
on
that.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's the model I followed,
Yeah.
and I pushed it all the way down until the end.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was gone, I literally got physically sick
Yeah.
for 3 days
Mm-hmm.
because my body just gave up.
Yeah.
Because I had been enjoying that time with
Yeah.
him, and then at the end, it's when he's gone and it hits, it's gone, and that's.
Oh, I went through such a huge depression
Yeah.
after.
I'm
Yeah.
still in it.
After
like 6
my
years
dad.
later, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still depressed.
I know, right?
I didn't start drinking, but I did eat a lot. And then I was up over like 300 pounds.
Wow.
Wow.
Just depressed all
Yeah.
the time because it's like, it's so
Yeah.
sad. And you feel like nobody knows
No.
because like you're done taking care of him and everybody leaves. The hospice nurse is gone.
Yeah.
Like nobody calls to check on you anymore.
No.
Or, you know, my sister had her fiance to go home to. I didn't have anyone.
Yeah.
Like I was alone. I mean, I had my daughter, but
Yeah.
she was 3.
Yeah, right. You're not
like
confiding.
now I have to go
Yeah.
back to like everyday stuff, and it's we get up in the morning. I have to do this for you, do that for you, and I didn't want to.
My mom died on. She passed away the evening before Halloween. Halloween was my mom's favorite holiday, and we had to go back.
I met you on Halloween.
Yeah, I know. We met on Halloween. How ironic is that? Yeah.
I almost hit all those kids.
Yeah, remember that? Right? That was a crazy night. And the cop with the little golf cart thing and all that.
Okay, no inside jokes
Yeah.
here, but
Sorry.
like you guys were out of time and stuff.
yeah.
That's messed
What?
up.
Okay. Yeah, and we had to go back and we had to do Halloween without my mom like the next day. I mean, that was
It's
one of the
terrible.
hardest fucking
That's
things
rough.
seeing the kids come up because she just used
Yeah.
to love the kids coming by. And,
Yeah.
and I remember for years we would do things would happen like when I had my youngest son, when I'd get promotions at work, when something cool would happen, my first thought was I got to call my mom and tell her, and
Yeah.
it would hit me and be like, fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, that went on for like 4 fucking years.
Yeah.
Every significant thing, every struggle, I was, oh shit, I should call my mom and ask her. I can't call my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awful. And but you know what? I still have his ashes. I instantly felt better as soon as I
Okay.
got them. As soon as I
Good,
got the
yeah.
urn.
Cool.
Also, this is his thumbprint on my necklace.
I had
I was
that.
wondering
Mine-
what
Yeah.
not
that
your
was.
dad's, but I have my
Yeah,
dad's
yeah.
on
I've
a
worn
keychain.
it.
Yeah.
I never take it off.
Yep. Mine's
So I
on my
have it.
motorcycle key
Yeah.
because I want him with me during the.
Yeah,
it's
I
dangerous.
have it. I have it on all the time. I have one for her. I have one for my daughter.
Yep.
My sister got one, and my niece. But just losing him really affected everyone.
Yeah.
Like it
But
was.
you
just,
get through it.
Yeah, eventually you get through it.
Eventually you get through
but
it.
you don't have to
I
get over
did.
it.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like I get through it, but I'm not over it.
My
It's
aunt-
different than I know losing a child would be. I don't know what that's like.
No.
Right.
But it was very hard to lose a parent, even though they're supposed to go before you.
Yes.
It's really different to do a day without someone
without
that's
your
been
parent.
there every single
Yeah.
day since you were born. Like after he passed away, 2 weeks was my birthday.
Ooh.
So I was like, well, now what?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
supposed to go to, he's supposed to take us out
Take
to
us
dinner.
out for dinner. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, a couple things that we do. I mean, that again, you gave us an insight on everything, but
Yeah.
we have this thing with our show. You haven't seen it,
Right?
but
Not
we
as of
ask
yet.
our guests 3 questions.
Okay.
But right before those questions, maybe you can tell us a little bit about something that you brought here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So I brought
and hold that up and show that camera right in front of you.
Yeah.
this one right here.
Oh, this
pointing
one
at you?
Oh, this
Oh, that
right
one?
here. Yep.
Yeah.
Back
Right-
a little
right
bit
by
by
your head.
Yep. Right by
Yeah.
your face.
There you go.
There you go.
It's Rock to Live.
Yes. So
Okay.
this is an event that's happening at the salvage station. It's something that the Lung and Thoracic Clinic does at the Cancer Center.
Okay.
This is the second one. Last year's was amazing. Like it
Okay.
was so much fun. We have bands and there's food and it is just awesome.
You're already starting.
Who's
right
who's
in
this
my heart.
for?
Huh?
Who's this for? Like who's invited to
This-
this?
Anyone.
Family,
anyone can go.
Anybody who
wants
struggling
to
with
show
cancer.
up.
So it's just like
You
an
don't even have to
opportunity.
be struggling with cancer.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
And what it
All
is
right, cool.
the lung cancer awareness event. So,
Okay.
and
Awareness.
it's not going to be like some conference or anything like that. Like it's straight up fun. And all the
Okay.
bands, like the first bands that go on are some youth bands,
Okay.
but they all have connections, and all the other bands are physicians.
Oh,
and it is
serious?
the greatest.
Dr.
And they're
Rock.
so good. They're great. Last
Yeah.
year's, I was like, oh, I have to go because I volunteered.
Your dad would have been like, these guys suck.
Yes, he would have. But then I went and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then it's only a suggested donation.
I see
You
that.
don't have to pay anything to come in.
Okay.
And they're going to have food trucks there. And it is so much fun. And then to meet the people, the doctors get a chance to interact with past patients, and even
Really?
current patients will come if they want to. We've got these flyers up everywhere, but the more the merrier. Like last year it was on a weeknight, and this
Yeah.
year the salvage station gave up a Saturday
Wow.
for us, and 10% of their sales are going to 100% of whatever we collect from donations
Okay.
goes straight to the American Cancer Society.
Wow.
Okay.
So we'll
And they're
we'll,
coming out to
we'll
help
spread
us
the word
too.
on that too. With
Yeah,
our,
we're-
with
yeah,
our,
we're gonna
And
put
it
that up
is
on the-
really fun. Like,
absolutely, yeah. I
even
love
if you
their
haven't
logo.
been affected by cancer,
It's a
or
guitar
lung
with a set
cancer.
of lungs. That's so cool.
I love that.
Is that an
Yeah,
awesome?
that's,
cool
that's
logo.
pretty awesome.
Badass guitar.
Yeah.
Definitely
yeah.
definitely not stock photo. Like
No,
you know, those
like
things that
you
What
get the
if our-
lungs with the guitar
Yeah.
and everything. That is really cool. And that's Saturday, November 16th from 4 to 10
Yeah.
at the salvage station.
Oh
down,
yeah.
down
I
on
mean, they're gonna have
Riverside
beer and
Drive.
everything there, so I mean, come listen to some cool bands.
Yeah.
and like have a couple drinks or whatever and some food.
No,
It's
we
not.
don't- yeah.
Can't have a
You
couple
can't have
drinks.
any
We can't
drinks.
have a couple
We're
drinks.
gonna
No.
we're gonna.
I'm
throw
not
down.
gonna have any drinks
Yeah,
either.
we'll
So
just
you can
throw
hang
down
out with
our
me.
energy stuff.
We'll
Then
have
I'm
a
gonna
couple
go Uber.
cigarettes. Yeah. Okay. We have the
So-
3 questions.
Yeah, we've got 3 questions.
Okay, I'm
So-
ready.
Yeah, so what we do like JP was saying, what we do with our guests is we have the name of the show is just for today, cast, or just for today, because basically the way that we look at it is, and one of the things where you're encouraged in a program of recovery from alcoholism and drug addiction is that you only have to do this for one day.
Okay.
You just don't have to drink today. You don't have to use today.
Okay.
And you learn how to live your life one day at a time. Like one day that you get, you put everything into it.
Okay.
It's a much
You
better
don't
way
have
to.
to not use a day. 'cause
Yeah,
you're fine.
yeah, you can drink. you can take your dad's
like that's
THC
what-
pills or smoke pot or whatever. Well, they probably drug test you at the hospital, so
Yeah.
you might want to consider
Yeah.
not doing that. But and so it really is about just living for today and maximizing. It sounds like from what you shared with us,
You live that.
you had some great single focused days with your dad. So the questions that we ask are,
it's
Yeah.
you have 24 hours left on Earth. You know it. No one else. You can't tell anybody. So, where would you go? Who would you see, visit, or bring with you, or whatever? And what would your parting words to the world be?
yeah. So you basically you wake up tomorrow. You've only got one day.
And I'm the only one that knows it.
You're the only one that knows it.
Does everybody only have one day, or
No,
just me?
Just you.
So it's funny you should say that 'cause it's the whole premise of the show. Yeah, actually, there's no guarantee any of us are going to wake up
Right.
tomorrow. But
Okay.
no, you're the only one. As far as the rest of the planet goes on, that just goes
I know
on.
if it was like a nuclear
No.
explosion,
No.
like there's an asteroid.
It's a good question,
hitting Earth
though.
or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
So
Your
it's
higher
just
power.
me.
Yeah. Your higher
Yeah.
power said, "Hey, you got 24 hours. Do what
Okay.
you want."
Yeah, 24, and you can't tell anybody. Where would you go? Who would you see or bring with you? And then the very last thing you would say, and everybody in the world gets to hear it.
I definitely want to go to the beach.
All right.
I love the beach so much.
Any specific
Somewhere
beach?
warm, not Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
Anywhere
Right.
with clear water
All right.
is
Okay,
fine.
yeah.
All right.
Whatever I can get to fastest.
I
Since I only
agree.
have 24 hours.
Yep.
Hawaii would be awesome. I've
Well, we
never
have-
been there, so
yeah.
that would work. If I
Magic.
could fly there, I don't know.
We have a
Magic
loophole.
jets.
You can magically get there.
You can, yeah, you get there
I
real
would
quick.
take my daughter,
Yes.
just her, and me and her would just have a day together.
Okay.
That's awesome.
And my last words would just be, "I love you."
To whom?
To everybody?
Everyone.
That's awesome.
Everyone.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that.
Man, mine is looking worse.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, you should.
You're a
yeah.
piece of shit.
You
Nick.
don't
No, I'm
want.
just kidding.
Yeah,
And
you
I
really
think we
don't
would
want to
just
know.
play on the beach all day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
that'd be good. Play in the beach in the
I'd
sand.
probably
and
try
stuff.
and take my sister too, because I really love her. So
Yeah.
we'd have a really good time.
I was gonna ask you about that. I was like, you kind of preached her up a little bit. And then
maybe
you're like,
her. I guess since I could take anyone and not just one person, I would take
Sure.
Trudy and my
You
daughter.
could take a whole
There
jet
you
full
go.
of people if you wanted, like
Does your daughter
unlimited
like Trudy?
funds.
Just the
Unlimited
two.
funds. Yeah.
All right.
That'd be a pretty good day to spend the day.
Yeah,
I think.
I'd be so tan. That'd
In
be
one day.
ridiculous.
I think
You'd
you'd be
be- no,
burnt.
you'd be
in a
burnt.
day.
Yeah.
You'd be sitting in your cabana at the end of the day, having your daughter rub aloe
But
on
it'd
you.
be
Like,
okay. I wouldn't have to deal with it
No.
the next
Exactly.
day.
You
wouldn't,
That's what
no.
I'm talking
it
about.
sounds like it'd be worth it.
All right.
What about yeah, and just real quick, cancer's touched all 3 of our lives. You work in the field with it.
Four?
You just what?
Four.
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 Sorry,
Well,
4.
5 in the room.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody in the room has been touched by cancer.
Yeah.
Intimately has had a front row seat to it.
Right.
So in addition to the 3 questions, I think it would be silly of us really not to ask what do you say to people that have families and people like you that have just got the diagnosis, or they're dealing with it in process, or they're at the end, or it's already happened and they're trying to contend with it. What do you say? What would you say to them to help them recover from what they're involved
I don't think there's
in?
anything to say to help somebody recover from it because everybody's so different. Like what helped my sister wouldn't have helped me.
Right.
Okay.
Or, it's just everybody's just so different. Maybe I don't know, it sounds so cheesy, but like you can do it. Like you're gonna be okay. And it's not about, oh, how do I get over this? You're never gonna get over it.
No, I didn't say
I'm
over. I
literally
said
never gonna get over it. But you
recover from
you
it.
can get through it.
Yeah.
And you can learn how to be like sometimes even now I wake up on April the 10th and I'm instantly sad.
Yeah.
It's like my body knows what day it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And even my sister's the same way. Like
Yeah.
she knows, I know when his birthday is without even looking at the calendar. So it's not something a lot of people think, and you didn't say it, but a lot of
No.
people think, oh, how do I get over this?
I didn't say
don't-
get over. I said recover
Right,
from it, like an
right.
injury, because it is an injury. It
And
hurts.
so
It
just
freaking
I think
wounds your
just the
soul.
generalization is to get over something, like get over a breakup or get over this, but
Yeah.
or to get over, how do I get over my dad dying? Don't
No.
Nope.
don't ever get over it. Like relive it every day. Like I laugh all the time thinking about stuff he said when he would yell at people out the window when I was driving him out of McDonald's. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. And I still say some of those things. He rolled the window down and yelled at some guy in a truck and told him to, quote, move it, hayseed. And then, and I just laughed and I was like, we're going to get shot.
Yeah. That's funny.
And it's just little stuff like that. And that's what I like to remember all the time. Like I don't sit back and remember the saddest part.
No.
Which I can, but it doesn't take it's harder for me to remember all those funny things than it is the last things.
Yep.
I can remember that instantly. I don't
Yeah.
have to relive that every day, but I do sit and think about all the good things. And that's what you want to remember about somebody. Like I don't want to sit and remember the times he was mad at me or whatever.
Right.
or
Unless they were
whatever.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's always funny.
Yeah.
So
Scott, I'm going to turn your mic off.
I'm very grateful that you came in and you shared a bunch of funny stories with your dad. And actually, I think
Well, I'm really glad you
I
had
think I can
me.
speak for all of us in that regard. And you know what? And we're glad you came in. And
Yeah.
you were open and you actually shared some of the sad stuff too.
can I tell you one more funny story?
Sure. You can tell
Okay,
us one more
so
funny story. Of course
a
you
lot of my
can.
family still lives up in Maryland.
Okay.
So one of my cousins, who's actually battling cancer now herself,
Oh, wow.
she's an oncology nurse in Maryland. Anyway, she messaged me, and I probably still have the Facebook message somewhere.
Okay.
She messaged me the day of his funeral because she was like, I am so sorry that I wasn't able to come down. We moved everything along pretty quickly because we already had all the arrangements. So
Sure.
And she said, I have to tell you what happened to me today. She said, I was driving into work and she has to get on the Beltway
Yeah.
to get to the hospital she works at or the cancer center that she works at. She gets on the Beltway in Washington, D.C. and she's speeding or wherever she was. I don't even know if it was the Beltway. Anyway, that's irrelevant. She's speeding. She was thinking about the funeral. She's thinking about my dad. Everybody loved my dad.
Yeah.
That knew my dad. He's funny. He's hilarious. Everyone's laughing anytime he's around.
Okay.
And she gets pulled over by this cop, and she was like, oh my God. So he comes up and she was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I was speeding. I wasn't paying attention. And she said, I'm just thinking about my cousins. Their dad passed away and his funeral's today. I was thinking about not getting to be there. And she was in Prince George's County.
No.
And he was like, the officer was like, I am really sorry to hear that, you know. And she said he used to be an officer. He was a retired officer from PG County. And the guy asked, he said, well, the
What's his
officer
name?
asked, what is his name? And she said, oh, I mean, he retired so long ago, you know,
Right.
whatever. And she says, Rudolph Menendez. And my dad was his training officer.
Oh my God.
So she wrote me and she said, your dad's still getting me out.
Oh, my God. That's epic. That's
That
epic.
is
She was like,
awesome.
I had to tell you that. She's
That's
like, he
great.
still got me out of a ticket. And I was like, that's amazing.
Oh, wow.
Like, I love that.
That's a good story, especially
Yeah.
to hear then.
Yeah, it was like great. It was great.
That's
I loved
awesome.
it.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. Nick, you got to do something.
Yes, I do.
Give us
Yeah.
give us something real quick. That was brilliant, by the way.
I really like this.
Brilliant.
You had all of us like crying multiple times. I had to like keep a straight face because I know if I was crying and then they saw me crying, it would start a circle that like a vicious circle that wouldn't end.
Yeah.
You held us together, Cap.
Yeah.
Barely. So what is our next episode, Scott?
I'm sorry.
What's our next episode?
Oh, I don't know. I've got we're in talks with a couple different guests to bring some other people on. We haven't locked anything down yet. But
Do we have anything? We don't have anything scheduled yet.
We don't have anything scheduled yet, but
Okay.
we've got three different guests that we're talking to.
Well, we don't need schedule. Don't like we'll.
No, we don't know the
But,
schedule, so I'm not going to put it out.
We are on Instagram
Yeah.
for Broken Helm. It is at broken_helm.
I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah.
I
For
believe
the
so.
show specifically, it is at just number 4 today cast.
Yes.
Yeah,
All one
everything is
word.
just for today cast.
Just for today cast. Yep.
Yeah,
all one
and
word.
we're
Yep.
also on Spotify under Broken Helm, and you can type in just for today as well. And we are going to be on iTunes hopefully by the end of the week. Well, in the
Yeah.
next week, if iTunes stops being
Yeah.
iTunes.
iTunes. Stop being
Yeah.
iTunes.
Yeah. YouTube.
Like it's like misspelled tags
Yeah.
is what I
Yeah.
got last time.
They block you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
YouTube. We're on YouTube.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
so all of this airs. The filming airs on YouTube, and
My
Links are
daughter
on.
will see it.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, links are on our pages, right?
Yeah.
Links on
So
the
yeah,
Yeah,
pages.
we'll
links are on the
share.
pages
Yep.
and hashtags and all that jazz.
Oh my god, I'm completely brain farting. What is that all the official that I do?
SoundCloud, Spotify.
This is we're
Yeah.
part of Broken Helm.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
me.
Broken Helm
Yeah.
Network.
Yeah.
Who are
Shameless
you?
plugs. Shameless plugs.
Who's
Right.
that guy? Who's that
Yeah.
guy?
Hold up. Camera went down.
Oh, yeah. So
Oh,
we're
I
part
lost the
we're part of Broken
camera.
Helm. If you go to brokenhelm.com, you can see everything that Broken Helm brings to the table, which is not
Okay.
just podcasts.
Yeah.
We are kind of like the main dish right now, which I
Yeah.
kind of
Yes.
like.
Yeah.
Yes. You guys
But camera keeps going down, so we're just gonna look at you, April, on this part.
I like that
Yeah.
term,
Yeah.
the main dish.
Yeah, see, we're the main dish.
Give it the main dish.
Yeah.
So that's I think that's it for the plug.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my god.
Thank you,
This was-
April.
Well, thanks for having me. This was fun.
Thanks
Yeah.
thanks for driving me home.
Yeah,
We're
anytime.
gonna have to
Yeah.
have you back, and we're gonna talk more about your job.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, that would be great. Would you be
Yeah.
interested in doing that? Come back and tell us more about like the things you're involved in and
Sure.
stuff like this.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Camera's down
Yeah.
on that one,
Awesome.
Scott.
Oh,
But-
sorry.
Thanks,
Stuff like that.
April.
Cool.
You are easily one of the top 6 guests that we've had. But we look forward to talking with you again, and thank you so much
Yeah,
for coming
definitely.
by.
Thank you for having me. It
I'm
was
gonna try
great.
something new. On
Okay.
behalf of April, Nick, Scott, I'm JP, and this has been the Just for Today cast.
Ooh, I like that.
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
That works well. Very cool.
That was a good one.
And we're out.
Thanks, April.